I, 30F, took off my engagement ring after 12 years with my fiancé, 30M, I think I'm done, but now he wants to change. I, 30F, have been with my fiancé, 30M, for 12 years. We met in school, got engaged 2 years ago and have a 5-year-old daughter together. He's a kind man at heart, but he's a workaholic. Over the past few years, he's become more and more consumed by work, often staying up late, waking at 3 a.m. to work again, falling asleep on the sofa most nights. I've asked for help repeatedly but nothing changes. I work full-time, study in the evenings, exercise to manage stress, and I'm the default parent, every routine, every meltdown, every bedtime, every household task. He promises to help and then just doesn't. Example, the other night he said he'd put our daughter to bed. At 9:30, I found him snoring while she watched cartoons on his phone after he gave her chocolate before bed. She was wired until 10:30 p.m. and I had to take over again. Last night, I broke down crying. He asked if I wanted to talk. I said no. I was too exhausted to speak and he just went to sleep on the sofa again. I came downstairs after studying, saw him still asleep, dishes not done like he promised he would do, and quietly took off my engagement ring and left it on the table. This morning, I got a long message from him. He says he now truly sees the damage, that he's been emotionally shut down from his own trauma, that he's been in a dark place and taking me for granted. He says he'll go to therapy, change how he works, show up better, and is asking for 30 days to prove himself. And now, I'm torn. Part of me wants to believe him. It's everything I've wanted him to say, months ago. But another part of me feels like it's too late. I've been holding it all together alone for too long. I'm tired, hurt, and honestly unsure if I even want to try anymore. So Reddit, I need advice. Can people really change after years of emotional absence? Has anyone tried a trial period like this? Did it help or just delay the inevitable? How do I protect myself, and my daughter, emotionally if I do give him this time? I'm not wearing the ring anymore. I haven't promised anything. I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything left worth saving or if I've already outgrown this version of us. Thanks for reading. Any insight or experience is deeply appreciated. Edit. Thanks for all the responses so far that I just wanted to answer a few common questions that keep coming up. Does he work extra hours because we need the money? No. We could live off my salary alone. We have everything we need, a house with a low mortgage, no car payments, and no major debts. His extra hours don't bring in extra pay, he's salaried. He's a project manager at a large corporate firm and is working toward yet another promotion. He's a yes man at work, always overextending himself even when it means logging on in the middle of the night. He says it's for the family, but truthfully, it's about career ambition and people pleasing. Have I helped him with his trauma? This is the first time he's ever opened up about trauma. I knew his childhood was a bit rough, but for years he insisted it didn't affect him. Now, suddenly, it's being named as a reason for his emotional disconnection. I'm not minimizing it. I understand trauma is real, but until now, it was completely buried and never talked about. Have I brought this up before? Yes. Over and over. I've told him clearly, calmly, even desperately, what I needed. He always says he's helping by working so hard. And if he does the dishes or takes our daughter to bed once in a while, he wants a medal. He genuinely believes he's doing enough because his intentions are good, but good intentions don't carry a household. Context on my life career: I work in a law firm, it's often very stressful, and I'm currently sitting my FE1 exams, which are the Irish equivalent of the bar. I could have qualified years ago, but I kept putting my own career goals on the back burner to support his. Every time he needed flexibility, space, late nights, I gave it. I don't regret supporting him, but I do regret losing myself in the process. Comments. Commenter 1. The most freeing thing I did was to leave the man who neglected my emotional needs over and over again. I was in the hospital for 10 days and he dropped me off and visited me once. But when his friend was in the same hospital, he went every single day. You're modeling good behavior for your daughter. I am better alone. He may step up a better parent after you leave, my ex did. And bonus, now, my house is decorated exactly how I like it. Commenter 2. When you get sick, people show you who they truly are. Sorry you went through that. Commenter 3. You told him, repeatedly, that you were unhappy. He didn't take steps to change until it impacted his potential happiness comfort. Leaving the ring on the table was you saying too late, I'm done. And now he promises change. Where was all this when you were begging for help? He doesn't listen when you tell him there is a problem. Not until you make it his problem. Is this really the relationship you want? Because it's the one you've got. Update. We were supposed to talk tonight, just one honest conversation to see if there was anything left to save. But he fell asleep putting our daughter to bed and never came down. No message. No effort. That moment confirmed what I've been feeling deep down for a while. I've been holding this relationship together alone. Giving chances. Getting my hopes up and being let down every single time. To be fair, over the past 2 days he did try. He was suddenly being the partner I've been asking for. He cleaned without being asked, made me coffee, which he rarely did, and sent me long, apologetic texts. He acknowledged how much he's hurt me and even told me he booked a therapy session for Monday. But the truth is, I feel like it's too late. It took me reaching my breaking point for him to react. And even now, when we finally had a chance to talk, he fell asleep again. He'll wake up in our daughter's bed and find the message I sent, telling him that I'm done. I don't even want to speak to him at this point, though I know I'll have to for the sake of our daughter. I'm hurt, exhausted, and emotionally checked out. After 12 years together, and 5 of those raising a child, I've hit a point where love has turned into resentment. I don't recognize us anymore. I know this won't be easy. But I also know it's necessary. I need peace. I need clarity and I need to stop trying to fix something that's been broken for far too long. Thank you again to everyone who helped me feel less alone in this. It meant more than you know. TLDR, fiancé and I, both 30, have been together for 12 years and have a 5-year-old daughter. He's a kind man but a workaholic who's been emotionally and practically absent for a long time. I reached my limit. He made a last-minute effort the past 2 days, cleaned, made coffee, booked therapy. But tonight, when we were meant to talk, he fell asleep again. I sent him a message ending it. I'm heartbroken but also at peace. I can't carry this alone anymore. Comments. Commenter 1. Spoiler alert, he won't change. Commenter 2. I have had this happen also, they do everything you've ever asked of them when they know you are done. They think this helps. What they don't realize is it just pisses us off even more because now we know they knew what and how to do what we asked for all along, they just did not care until we are walking out the door. Toof King Late AH. Asterisk. Commenter 3. Exactly this. My ex wanted to make all the changes when he realized he'd lost me and it made it so much worse because I'd spent the last 2 years having hours of intense conversation over all the things that needed to change. I told him that making the changes to stop me leaving does nothing, that's just manipulation. I needed him to make the changes because he wanted to keep the relationship in the first place. Commenter 4. No one wants to be with a person who's more motivated by their absence than their presence. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my husband's stepsister that we'd no longer be going on holiday with his stepsiblings ever. My husband's parents are divorced so he has stepsiblings, a stepsister and 1 stepbrother, from my mother-in-law's second marriage. He also has 1 sister who I love and get along great with. Every year the siblings take at least 1 vacation together. To them it's probably considered a tradition and it's been very clear in the few months we've been married that his stepsiblings intend to continue the tradition regardless of how I feel about it. This is an assumption but I feel like they partly want my husband there because he either pays for it or has access to my father-in-law's vacation homes. The reason I want to put a stop to it is because I don't like his stepsister or his stepbrother's wife. My husband didn't introduce me to his mother's side of the family until after he proposed and from the start his stepsister and stepbrother's wife were very frosty and standoffish with me. I have no idea why they dislike me but I got the vibe that they were expecting our relationship to fizzle out. Now they're a bit nicer to me but I know they're not my type of people and I much prefer his sister and his father's side of the family. The idea of having to spend minimum 1 vacation a year with them makes me feel so much dread and I'm not going to force myself to do that. His stepsister informed me a few days ago that we'd be going to Greece in August. Honestly the way she told me instead of asking me really rubbed me the wrong way so I told her we wouldn't be going on holidays with his stepsiblings going forward. She asked me if my husband had said that and I told her no, that I was telling her that's how things will be going forward. I know I should have spoken to my husband first, but he knows his stepfamily haven't been the most welcoming, and I said it in the heat of the moment. His stepsister essentially told me, his wife, that I couldn't make that decision for him and that I didn't need to come on the vacation, but my husband definitely would. I was pretty angry at this point, so I told her he wouldn't go if I asked him not to, which is true, but I think it's made it easy for my stepsister to turn my mother-in-law against me. My sister-in-law is siding with me, but I'm pretty sure my mother-in-law doesn't like me very much anymore. My husband agreed he wouldn't go if I didn't want to, but he thinks I should have spoken to him and let him handle the conversation because now I look like the bad guy when I should have let him take the blame. Stories number 3. My girlfriend, 25F, broke up with me, 28M, on the first day of our vacation. My girlfriend, ex-girlfriend I guess, and I just arrived at our resort today and we broke up at the airport before we even took off. The whole point of the trip was to get away so we could try to get our relationship happy again without dealing with work stress, but she gave me yet another ultimatum and I called her bluff and she broke up with me. She hasn't been in the hotel room, but I know she's going to want to get back together and I don't think I want to. But yeah, now we're stuck in a hotel room together for a week, so what do I do? How do I make this not awkward? I don't want to fight with her, but I don't think I want to get back together. And we live together, so we'll have to deal with that when we get home. TLDR, my girlfriend broke up with me and we're on vacation together until Monday. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, yet another ultimatum. What do you mean, you called her bluff? How often does this sort of thing happen? What was a vacation supposed to achieve? Why did you even get on the airplane? Reply, she just give ultimatums for everything that she wants and I'm sick of it. This one was about how if I didn't ask someone to switch seats so we could sit together we'd break up. It's always stupid petty shit so she can get her way, she does it all the time. I got on because I paid for it, so I wanted to come. Commenter 2, so, why are you with her? Reply, I'm not anymore. The trip was supposed to be a last-ditch effort to fix things, but I just don't think she is worth it anymore. Commenter 3, I know, if I throw money at her, her fundamental personality will change irrevocably. I don't get this mindset. A vacation is not life-changing therapy. Reply, lesson learned. She really hates her job, so I thought being away from it would make her happy, but guess not. Commenter 4, is there no way you can get out of there before? Call your airlines, see if they can move you back a few days. If you can't, go out, have fun, get another room, bang anyone who wants to bang you. You're single now, act like it. Seriously though, get another room, in another hotel if possible. Since you're adamant that you're done with this relationship, good decision by the way, it's better you get as far away from her as possible lest things get more awkward. Reply, they can move my flight but it's really fucking expensive, so I'd rather not move it. I'll see if I can get another room, kind of sucks paying for 2 rooms though. I wish I could kick her out of mine, would that be wrong? Can OOP get a different room other than the original room reservation? Reply, I wonder if that would be illegal. I will try to switch rooms, hopefully they have something available. My GF still hasn't checked in. I called and they said I would have to get another room for myself and I can't just switch or take her name off since she made the reservation, even though I paid. She can afford it, I think. Commenter 5, she's gonna come crawling back to you by the end of the night wanting to be with you on vacation. Let her know what the fuck is good and keep calling her bluff. She ended the relationship over some bullshit, so let her deal with the consequences of it. Reply, she already did. I was talking to someone I met and she interrupted to ask me to come with her, where asked me to apologize so we could move on. Did OOP pay for the whole vacation? Can the ex afford to pay on her own? Reply, yeah, I paid for the whole thing. I probably won't cancel it though. I'm not sure how much she could afford to pay for on her own. Where is OOP vacationing at the time and can he leave the resort? Reply, probably, I'm in the Dominican Republic, although everyone says not to leave the resort. Can OOP move out of his place after he gets back home? Reply, I own the house so I'm not moving out. Update, link to the OP. You should read it or I will look like an ass in this post. I just wanted to update on my shitty vacation. The first day was really bad. I stuck to the hotel room for most of it, and when I finally went out at night she tried to start fights and get me to stop talking to people because she thought I was going to cheat on her. The front desk person found me another room that was a huge upgrade, so I moved there for the rest of the trip to avoid my girlfriend. I guess she didn't stay in the old room either, so I'm not sure who ended up paying for that, but I was expecting a huge bill for shit she charged to the room. It was pretty awkward, but I did my best to have a good time. I met a ton of people, and it was easy to make friends since everyone thought the situation was hilarious. My girlfriend never went too far away, she would approach me a couple of times every day to try and work things out so we can enjoy our vacation, and she kept an eye on me the whole time. When I wouldn't talk with her, she tried to start a fight, and a couple times she actually screamed at me for everyone to hear. After it finally became clear to her that I was moving on, she stopped bugging me and she flew out a couple days early. I ended up spending most of my time with a group that was there for a wedding and even attended the ceremony. I'd rate it a 7/10 vacation all things considered. I feel a bit bad about how shitty her trip was. I did some shit just to piss her off that probably wasn't necessary. I was hoping that she would be mad enough to just move out of my house before I got home, but she's still living here with me, and now I'm living in my own basement just to avoid her. I did give her an eviction notice, but 1 month is far too long to be living with an ex. My dogs have been staying with my friends so I can make sure she doesn't try to take them or something, but her staying here is really fucking everything up. TLDR, had a great vacation but still living with my ex. Relevant comments. Can OOP stay with a friend until his ex moves out? Reply, I could, but I worry about my house and stuff. I moved everything I could down into the basement, so the upstairs is really bare bones. I'm trying to make her as uncomfortable as possible to speed up the process. Commenter 1, man, she sounds like a piece of work. She is the one that broke up with you but also didn't want you to have fun. I'm glad you were able to have a good time regardless though. Good luck with the living situation. Is the place yours or hers? How much longer will you have to live with her? Reply, I don't think she actually wanted to break up. I called her ultimatum bluff and she's just stubborn enough to follow through, but she was begging me to get back together after, and I would just need to apologize to her to make it work. LOL. It's my house, I own it, and her name isn't on it or anything. She has until mid-June to leave, but I am hoping she will move out June 1st. OOP gives examples of his ex's ultimatums she gave him. Reply, it's hard to remember. She told me to stop working out so much or we would break up, and it was only every other day for an hour or two. She said if I went to the beach wearing basketball shorts instead of a swimsuit we would break up, because you can see my dick outline. It wasn't just ultimatums though. There was a lot wrong with our relationship. Commenter 2, why does she get a whole month to move out? Is it a law where you are? Who are you having to put up with her for that long? Reply, it's the law unfortunately. Does OOP know what legal steps to take if the ex doesn't move out in a month? Reply, I don't, but my lawyer friend does. Commenter 3, sounds to me like the breaking up was never supposed to be permanent. She was just using it as a way to get complete control of the relationship. I.e., she wanted you to come crawling and begging on your hands and knees, telling her you would do anything to get her back. And by doing it on vacation, she figured you'd have no choice but to accept her power play. And when you basically told her to fuck right off, she lost her shit and decided you weren't going to enjoy your vacation if she wasn't. And when that didn't work, she just bailed early. Talk about dodging a big bullet. OP. Reply, yeah, she definitely didn't want to actually break up. Breaking up destroyed her plans for getting married and having babies, and that's all she wanted these days. Did OOP do something crazy to mess with his ex? Reply, nothing crazy. Since my girlfriend was following me around, one of the bridesmaids offered to pretend to go to my hotel room with me to make my girlfriend jealous, and I took her up on it. We ended up actually hooking up and were purposely handsy with each other for the rest of the vacation. Commenter 4, so you're coming out of a controlling relationship by hiding in your basement? This seems like a great time to practice standing up for yourself. Don't be doormat, especially now that you are no longer invested. Reply, well, I can't kick her out illegally for job reasons and all my shit is locked up in the basement, so I know she doesn't fuck with it, so I have no reason to go upstairs. It sucks, but it's the best way to do things. Commenter 5, invite a friend to live with you until your ex moves out to protect yourself against any false accusations. You ex sound like a piece of work who can do pretty stupid things. If she files a police report with false accusations and gets protection order, you will not be able to enter your own house and she would be able to live there for a long time. Depending on state eviction process may take months to years. Reply, that's probably a good idea actually. Stories number 4, boyfriend 35M humiliated me 31F camping with friends. I don't know if I should stay. My boyfriend 35M and I 31F have been together for 3 years, living together for 1. We've been friends since high school, so there's a long history between us. Over the weekend we went camping with friends, and 2 things happened that really shook me. First, We were setting up a bug net together. He had been drinking and suddenly started taking it down. I assumed he was adjusting it, so I helped remove a part that was stuck. I saw him putting it in a bag, so I asked what he was doing. Then he snapped, "You took it down, so we're not using it." I was confused and said, "Wait, I thought you were taking it down, I was just helping." He got snippy, handed it to me, and said whatever, so I quietly put it back up. Later, I was starting a fire to cook and casually asked a friend to grab me a stick to move some logs. Out of nowhere, my boyfriend jumps in and says, "I'm no idiot, but here," then starts aggressively messing with the fire using an axe. He turned to me and said, "This is the hot part of the fire, this is the cooler part. You fucking got that?" I was stunned. "You fucking got that?" I just stood there silently. When my friend returned with the stick, my boyfriend started loudly saying that I talk to him like he's an idiot. At that point, I told my friend exactly what he said to me, with him standing right there. He tried to defend himself, I told him to shut up, and he stormed off to take a nap in the car. Later he came back to camp and ignored me completely, talked to everyone else, not a word to me until we got home the next day. We drove separately, then he said, "Sorry, I lost my temper." I took a shower, and when I got out of the shower, he said we should have a talk, then proceeded to say how I am so mean to him. It led to an argument. He said he was drunk and anxious all day and regretted saying that as soon as it came out of his mouth. I brought up how this is a pattern. He lashes out, minimizes it, or tries gaslighting me into believing I behaved the way he did and not him, and apologizes vaguely. He said he'd stop drinking again and wants to fix things, but I don't know if I believe that anymore. He said it before. I feel humiliated, confused, and emotionally exhausted. I'm trying to do better at not just cutting everyone out of my life when things go wrong. Has anyone been in a relationship like this? Did it get better, or did you leave? Stories number 5. My girlfriend came home and overheard my therapy session and listened in. Now she is very angry. How do I proceed? My girlfriend came home to my own therapy through telehealth. She heard me talking about her and chose to listen for about 30 minutes before I realized she was home. She stormed out and was extremely angry at me. I had been talking about our relationship, and had in heat of emotions, jumped to hurtful conclusions about how people around me feel about her, which is worry I misconstrued in my speaking as dislike. I had also been talking about your relationships, some stresses, getting everything out and just talking through it. She says she feels betrayed and like she was stabbed in the back over this. I feel awful, and I haven't been able to interpret my feelings on this appropriately either, and I have been responding with anger. How do I proceed? What do I do? Sorry for the small details. It's for privacy's sake. Edit. I do want to add, other than what has been stated here, I did not say anything directly mean about her. I've only talked about issues we've had and how those around me might view her. She only heard me talking, and not my therapist. She is upset I would share any information about our relationship or what she's been struggling with anyone, including my therapist. Edit 2. I thank you all for all your support, and although I'm not replying to every comment, I am reading them, and taking everything into account. I am also at work and work EMS, so I'm sorry if I don't get to your comment. Edit 3. I thank you all for your replies. I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond to everyone. You've all been a big help, and I'm going to reflect on everything everyone has said for sure when looking at this relationship. Thank you all. Comments. Commenter 1. You didn't do anything wrong. She was the one who violated your privacy by listening in on your session. As far as I am concerned, it's not on you to do anything. She should be apologizing to you. Commenter 2. For real. Therapy is literally the place to air your grievances. It's supposed to be private for a reason. Commenter 3. Doing it by talking into your laptop at the house you share with your partner who can walk in at any time carries its risks. Update. Hello. I recently posted here about my girlfriend eavesdropping on my therapy conversation, and the huge fallout that came of it. It's been a couple weeks and a lot has happened. I took everything everyone had said from my previous post, and read it multiple times to really get my head where I need to be. I realized that she shouldn't have listened, and that was on her. We had an argument not long after I had made the post. She blamed me for everything, said many hurtful things. I was leaning towards breaking up when her whole script flipped. She acted like she was in the wrong about everything, made me feel like she was going to change for the better. She wasn't. I took a step back from per relationship for 2 days. I wanted to really reflect and think. She didn't honor that wish, and she didn't have any plans to. But after reading all the comments and reflecting, I realized I was in a toxic relationship, where I was cutting off my friends and family for this person that I would never be enough for. I ended up breaking UO with her. It hurt a lot, but I thank you all so much for helping me see to what needed to be done. I couldn't have done it if it weren't for all of your advice. I wanted to give this little update to let everyone know how thankful I am, and to answer any questions I didn't from my previous post. Comments. Commenter 1. Good job. You should be proud of yourself. How did she handle the breakup? Reply, not well. I had asked originally for 2 days just to reflect on everything. She ended up showing up to my house and threatened suicide, sad face, and that was a lot on me, and made me really scared. I ended up having to cut ties with her. I sent a message and blocked her, because every time I had tried to talk to her she would make me feel bad, say she was going to therapy and wanting to change and be with me. But that wasn't what was happening, so I had to bite the bullet. Commenter 2. Threatening suicide is the reddest of red flags. The moment a partner does that, you need to get the fuck out of there yesterday. Reply, I came to realize that when it happened, we had a long argument cause I was ready to have her IVC'd. But, the more I look at it, the more it was a pure manipulation tactic, and I should have known. Stories number 6. Aita for saying my dad is only a good dad to my half-siblings, not me, and using other family to back me up. For 12 years it was just me, 17M, and my dad, and for 13 years I was an only child. My mom wasn't involved when I was a baby. Like not involved at all. I never actually met her. She died when I was 5.5 and I have vague memories of her funeral. I grew up with both mom and dad's families in my life. But at home it was just me and my dad, and he wasn't father of the year or even a contender either. He made sure there was a roof for me and food in the walls underneath that roof. That was it. I had different babysitters until I was old enough to do simple stuff for myself. Once I reached that point at like 5-6 years old I was on my own. Extended family would take me for a day or two at a time. They'd check in. They used to chase after dad to pay more attention to me. Some offered to raise me too. But he never took them up on those offers, so I stayed with him and went to family members' houses during the day and some weekends or weeknights if something important was going on at school or whatever. Then he met and married his wife when I was 12 and they had a kid together when I was 13. There was a total change in him. He took some time off work to be with his wife and the baby, got up in the middle of the night with the baby even when he went back to work. Suddenly Sunday was family day and they were doing things together. Him and his wife planned for the just in case they both died and asked his oldest sister to take the baby and any other kids if something happened to them. She asked about me and after a few awkward seconds he said he figured that was a given. But he never legally put things in place for me according to my aunt. It's just my half-siblings and I have 3 half-siblings now. All 3 were newborns and there was something in place for the worst. Apparently I was 13 when a verbal thing happened for me, yay. With my first half-sibling being 4 now I can really see the difference in dad as a parent. Because he actually is one. He's involved in teaching them, in putting them to bed, in making food for them and in knowing what they will and won't eat. There's all kinds of ways he's involved. And yeah, he has a partner with him now for this stuff, but he had support with me and he didn't do shit. For the first time in over 4 years my dad and his wife want a date night and dad told me I needed to babysit on a Friday night. I told him no and he asked why and I told him I work Friday nights. He said I can call off one night and I said no. I told him he could afford a babysitter like he did for me when I was younger. Then he said they hate the thought of leaving them with strangers and I asked why he didn't hate that when I was born. He told me it was a different time and set of circumstances and come on, I'm a part of the family and babysitting is a role of the oldest. I was like, since when am I part of this family, and he told me always. Then he said he's a damn good dad and my attitude is claiming otherwise and it was pissing him off. I said he was never a good dad to me, only to my half-siblings. He got pissy about it and spent 2 weeks telling me I was wrong. So we had dinner at my grandparents' house and my 2 aunts and 3 uncles were there with us and I asked them if dad was a good dad to all his kids or just my half-siblings. They all said he was hardly a dad to me at all but was amazing with my half-siblings. His wife stormed off because the kids were at the table and she was like, WTF are you bringing it up in front of them for? Dad told his family they were being harsh and they told him they all know me better than him and worried about me more than he ever did. Ever since dinner Dad's been trying to prove he's a good dad to me and he fails every time. He's pissed that I brought family into it to prove a point. His wife's pissed that I brought it up in front of her kids. And she's pissed that I don't consider myself family and asked what kind of way that is for her kids to live. Then she said I basically made her kids feel like their family cares for them less than they do for me. Stories number 7. Aita for secretly planning a surprise birthday party for my son because my wife always makes his feel like an afterthought. I, 38M, have 3 kids, 2 daughters, 15 and 12, and a son, 10. In the interest of privacy, Ava, 15, Lily, 12, and Caleb, 10, not their real names. This might take a while, but I honestly need to vent. I love all my kids equally, but if I'm being honest, our household doesn't always feel equal, especially when it comes to how my wife, 36F, treats our son compared to our daughters. My wife is incredibly close to Ava and Lily. And I get it, she connects with them via fashion, makeup, high school gossip, and girl stuff. It's fine. But it's built up over the years into overt favoritism. She gives them more leeway, buys them costlier items just because, and practically never disciplines them the same way that she disciplines Caleb. For example, Ava hasn't done the dishes in probably a year. Caleb, meanwhile, is to take out trash, vacuum, and do yard work. My wife brushes it under the rug with, he's a boy. He needs the discipline. The girls are more fragile. That line never really sat well with me, but what's been irking me the most recently is the way she handles birthdays. For Ava's birthday last year, my wife rented an outdoor party space and hosted this enormous boho picnic affair with fairy lighting, Ava and her girlfriends in matching outfits, and an actual photographer. Lily did a spa-themed slumber party with full-on decor and personalized robes for everyone. Caleb, last year, got a supermarket cake, pizza, and a happy birthday sign that we neglected to tape up straight. And it wasn't that we didn't have money, we did. She simply said, he doesn't care about that sort of thing like the girls do. But I observe the way Caleb looks at their birthdays. He hasn't ever explained it, but I am certain he notices. And he deserves so. So I've started secretly planning a surprise birthday party for him. Me alone. I booked time at his favorite trampoline park, reached out to a couple of his closest friends at school, and I'm collecting party decorations around his favorite video game. I went as far as to ask him, casually, if he'd order what kind of cake if he could have any cake on earth. His face lit up with a gigantic grin as he said chocolate cake topped with cookies. Plain, I haven't spoken to her about it. I know she's going to be angry. She gets ridiculously possessive over planning birthdays, but the thing is, when it comes to Caleb, she really doesn't go to the effort. She just knocks something together at the last minute and acts like that's all he's ever actually wanted. I will let her know the night of the party. It's not a matter of playing games of power. I just didn't want her to shut it down without allowing it to have a chance. I want this one thing for him to be something memorable. I want him to be made to feel as precious as his sisters are. Because he is. But now I'm second guessing. I know she's going to accuse me of blindsiding her or trying to make her look bad, or playing favorites with Caleb. The irony there, I'm not trying to turn this into some parenting war. I'm just tired of watching him shrink into the background while his sisters get to shine. I know it'll cause tension. I just don't know if I'm doing the right thing. TLDR, my wife always throws amazing birthdays for our daughters but barely does anything for our son. I've been quietly planning a big surprise party for him by myself so he finally feels seen. I haven't told her yet because I'm scared she'll shut it down. AITJ, update. Hi again, everybody. I just wanted to thank you all for the responses, advice, and encouragement. I wasn't expecting the kind of response I got on the first post. I've been reading hundreds of comments over the last day or so, and many of them touched me deeply. What struck me most was how many people who mentioned abuse. I didn't use that word at first. I was likely too close, too used to the dynamics of our household. But when I considered it from an external point of reference, if I'd heard another father describing the same situation with his wife and kids, I would have said abuse too. At least to Caleb. So. I talked to her. I brought it up last night, just me and my wife sitting in the kitchen after the kids had gone off to their rooms. I was nervous, not that I was afraid of her or anything, but because I knew there was no way this could be said without things getting uncomfortable. But it needed saying. I started off slow. I said we needed to talk about Caleb. I said I thought we'd been hurting him without realizing it. I mentioned how she treats the girls differently than him, how they can skip chores, get special attention and gifts, while he's held to higher expectations and gets little of the same attention. First, she played dumb, like she really hadn't noticed. But when I gave her examples, she got defensive. She said I was being dramatic. That I was reading too much into things. That I was trying to make her out to be a bad mother. I said that wasn't the point, this wasn't criticism, this was a plea to do better for our son. So I finally just put it out there plainly, the way you're treating Caleb isn't favoritism anymore. It's abuse. That's when it blew up. She stood up immediately and said, "Excuse me? Did you just say I'm being abusive?" I told her that wasn't what I was doing. What I was doing was calling the behavior abusive, even if it wasn't intended to be. She started screaming. She said I was manipulative, that I was trying to make her out to be a monster. I was calm. I told her I wasn't trying to argue, I was trying to open her eyes. I told her if Caleb was one of the girls and we were doing her this way, she'd lose her mind. She said, "Well, maybe that's because girls need more of their parents. Caleb's fine." I said, "No, he's not fine. He's a 10-year-old boy watching his sisters get fussed over and pampered, and he gets a half-eaten sheet cake and a 'you're tough enough to not need this' pat on the back." Then there was the fight about money. We couldn't afford a big party for him, she said. And I lost it. I reminded her of how much we had spent on Ava's birthday, on the matching outfits, the picnic setup, the photographer. I reminded her of Lily's monogrammed robes and handmade spa sets. I said, we had money then. So why don't we have it for him? We yelled. I am not proud of it. I don't yell, and it takes a lot to push me to that level. But I was frustrated. I was hurt. And I was tired of acting like this was normal. She finally told me, "If you think you are such a better parent, then go ahead and have your little party without me." Then she threw a bag together. Woke Ava and Lily up. And left. Told me she was going to her mom's house until I come to my senses. I haven't heard from her since. She didn't ask about the party. She didn't ask about Caleb. She just left. So, yeah. Caleb's birthday is tonight. He has no clue about any of this. I'm not ruining his day. His friends are still invited. The trampoline park is booked. The cake, chocolate with cookies on top, is in the refrigerator. He's so excited for it. He thinks his mom planned it. He said this morning, "I can't believe I get a party like Ava's this year." My heart sank when he said that. But I smiled and told him he deserves it. I'll do a full update tomorrow after the party. I just needed to get this out. Thank you to everyone who helped me see what I did not want to see. Caleb is not overreacting. He is not imagining things. And he is not wrong to want to feel just as loved. TLDR, Update 1. I confronted my wife about how we've been treating our son and called it what it is, emotional neglect. I said we needed to do better, especially for his birthday. She got angry, said we don't have money to spoil him, and it turned into a heated screaming match. She ended up storming out with our daughters and went to her mom's house. Now I'm confused and hurt. I was just trying to stand up for our son, and she completely shut down and left. Comments. Commenter 1. I replied to this on AITA, and you and her are both jerks. You've let this go on for years without stepping in to keep your son from experiencing pain. She, for obvious reasons. Where have you been all the other birthdays? Letting her do everything, then just showing up. If it's been bothering you so much, step the F up. Commenter 2. Posting this in another thread because people called you an AH for allowing your son to be abused all this time. You can't offset the favoritism and abuse with a party that you have to do in a sneaky way because you know your wife will ruin it. Be a man and start stepping up for your son. Or have you been so whipped and cowed by the queen bees in your home you have no backbone and want your son to grow into you? Or this is all bull. ESH. Commenter 3. NTJ, but you need to start calling her out on it in front of him and the girls, so he knows you have his side. Stories number 8. AITA for staying full-time at my mom's to avoid my stepsister and my dad's expectations for our relationship. My parents got divorced when I, 16F, was really little and he remarried when I was 4. My stepsister is the same age as me. I spent every other week at dad's house, so I had an equal relationship with both of my parents. My stepsister saw her dad once or twice a year, and that stopped happening after a few years of my dad and stepmom being married. Because we were so close in age and similar-ish, my dad and stepmom decided we would be the best of friends and do everything together. When I was at their house, we were expected to hang out all the time, to include each other in everything, even if it was hanging out with friends. My stepsister became super attached to it, but I hated it. Especially the part about not being able to see friends without the other involved. After a few years, my stepsister pretended to like all the things I did, so we'd be in the same after-school activities, and so our birthday parties were identical right down to the type of cake we'd get. It also meant we got less gifts and had to share big stuff instead because we both loved them anyway. At Dad's house, nothing was mine. Not my clothes, my toys, or even my room. Whenever I tried to get space from my stepsister, she'd complain to her mom or my dad, and my dad would step in and tell me I needed to make time for my sister. Him and my stepmom started pressuring mom to take my stepsister out with us whenever we did things. I remember my stepmom calling my mom *NT for saying no to taking my stepsister to the trampoline park with me and my friends. Then it was my dad and stepmom yelling at mom for throwing me friend parties and not inviting my stepsister. And every sleepover my mom let me and my friends have was a huge deal to my dad and stepmom. My mom and dad fought in court when I was 10 because dad accused mom of alienating me from my stepsister, and mom wanted to get me therapy to help me process the pressure I faced at dad's house. Dad didn't want me in therapy except for family therapy. Dad didn't win custody and mom got to put me in therapy. I tried talking to my dad and telling him I didn't want to be BFFs with my stepsister and I didn't want to do everything with her, but he ignores it. And he's so much worse now because he acts like I'm bullying her when I don't want to talk nonstop to her, or when I don't include her when I'm at mom's house. So I asked my mom if she could look into getting full custody of me. Her attorney said we could try, and dad counter-filed for full custody, and so it was a back and forth between them for custody. Mom had the support of my therapist, and because of that the judge decided to speak to me. She said she wanted to hear what I'd say, but I didn't get to decide exactly. I told her everything and what I wanted and that I was serious about it. And the judge decided to let mom have full custody of me, but the rule is I need to maintain phone contact with dad if nothing else. It specifies how long, how often, etc. But I don't need to be at his house anymore. Now, other than school, I never see my stepsister, and it's great. And at school I tell her I don't want to talk and walk away. Plus I get an extended break because summer. It's great and I'm happy about it. My dad's pissed, which I expected. But he told me I wasn't very nice about any of it and that I might not have bullied my stepsister before, but now I basically am, and I'm punishing her for loving me and being my sister. He said I acted like a spoiled mean girl who couldn't handle sharing with someone. And he also said I ran away from most of my family. I don't think so, but maybe he's right, and I do hate that I lost my dad in all of this. Commenter 1. Even if you were full sisters or even twins, you still deserve to have your own life, activities, and friends. If your father and stepmother has let the relationship naturally grow, you may have been closer to your stepsister, but their interference and their delusion that you need to be joined at the hip ruined any chance of that. Reply. Agreed. I know this stuff happens more often with twins, but it shouldn't happen to anyone. At least me and my stepsister looked different enough. I can imagine it's more frustrating when you're identical twins and feel like you're not even you at all. Commenter 2. NTA. You didn't run away from most of your family. He drove you away. You told him what the problem was, but his expectations were more important to him than your feelings. He brought this on himself. Commenter 3. NTA. You didn't run away, you protected yourself from being forced into a relationship that wasn't genuine. Commenter 4. NTA. But please be wary if planning to go to college. They're going to likely try to pawn you off on the same university so you can be roommates and save money or some other crap. I wouldn't share where you want to go with dad or stepmom and stepsister. I'd even consider telling them fake universities. Reply: I won't share a thing about this stuff with him them. He doesn't need to know and I won't risk her copying me because he shares. Stories number 9. His sister called me his placeholder girlfriend at dinner in front of his whole family, and he just laughed like it was nothing. So, I, 24F, have been with my boyfriend, 24M, for almost 3 years now. We live together, we have a dog, we've talked about buying a house, marriage, maybe kids one day, the whole future planning thing. I've always felt secure with him, and up until this moment, I thought we were on the same page. Last weekend we had dinner at his parents' house, pretty casual, just his family and us. Everything was okay, fine until, out of nowhere, his older sister, 27F, makes this comment during dinner about how it's only a matter of time before the real one shows up and that I'm probably just a placeholder girlfriend anyway. She said it so casually, like it was some joke. The table went kind of quiet for a second, and then his brother laughed, his mom gave this uncomfortable smile, and my boyfriend? He laughed too. Like full-on chuckled and said, "That's harsh, but funny." I just sat there stunned. I couldn't even react because I wasn't sure if I misheard or if that really just happened in front of everyone. Nobody said anything to defend me. Not even him. On the ride home, I brought it up. I asked him why he didn't say anything or at least have my back. His response: "She was just joking, babe. You're being sensitive." I didn't think I was being sensitive at all. I've been nothing but respectful to his family. I always show up to events, help clean up, bring gifts, try to actually bond with them. And now I'm some kind of disposable temp girlfriend in their eyes. And he doesn't care. I've been replaying the moment in my head non-stop. What kind of partner just lets that slide? It's one thing for his sister to be petty or weirdly territorial, but for him not to say a word? I honestly can't tell if I'm overreacting or if this is the clearest red flag I've ignored yet. I don't want to make a big deal out of nothing, but I also don't want to waste years with someone who doesn't take me seriously. Would love some perspective. Am I reading too much into this? Or should I be seriously reconsidering how much I actually matter to him? Commenter 1. What part of that was supposed to be funny? I could never build a life with someone who had such a nonsensical sense of humor. How can you enjoy anything together? If this were me, I'd tell him that his sister made you realize that he's a placeholder boyfriend and that you actually need the place open for the permanent partner. If he gets upset, just tell him he's being too sensitive. Edit. I just wanted to also add about your question, if reading into it, your permanent partner will never make you feel the way you felt at the dinner. And when you bring up something that hurt you, your permanent partner would take you seriously. If your boyfriend told you something you did, or didn't do, hurt him, how would you respond? Expect nothing less for yourself. Reply. That dinner really opened my eyes, and it wasn't just about the joke. It was the way he brushed it off like my feelings didn't matter. Commenter 2. Now that you know that you actually are holding the place for someone else, why don't you just get out of the way? The right person for you is out there, but you're blocking them by wasting time on him. His sister was probably telling you the truth or just warning you about what is going on. ETA. After 3 years together, this is not a joke. Commenter 3. Tell your sister I said thank you. Why? She made me realize I was wasting my time. Thanks for being a placeholder while I figured it out. Commenter 4. I think the sister was warning OP. Sure, she could have been being catty. Or she could have been doing OP a solid by letting her know the way her boyfriend talks about her behind her back. Either way, it was not a joke. Stories number 10. Aita for not sharing my aunt's jewelry with my cousin's kids. TA because my family knows my main. My 30SF aunt, 60SF, recently died, less than a year after being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She never married, never had kids, and I'm one of 6 nieces' nephews. Both my sister and female cousin, Nina, are married with kids. My male cousin, Caleb, 40M, is married with 2 daughters, and neither of my younger brothers is married. They're largely irrelevant to this story. I'm single and have no intention of having my own kids. Background: my aunt was a doctor and went into palliative care when she was diagnosed. She wanted to enjoy the time she had left, mostly with travel. I was close to graduating from surgery residency when she was diagnosed. She asked if I would be willing to be her private physician after graduation, accompanying her on her travels, prescribing her pain meds, etc. She paid me a little bit more than I had been making as a resident, paid for my travel, first business class flights, nice hotels, etc., contributed toward my student loans, and put me on the deed to her house. I moved in with her. I also moonlighted did locums when we weren't traveling and after she got too sick to travel so I could keep up my surgery skills. Long story shorter, even with the time I wasn't making a full surgeon's salary, I still benefited financially from the agreement. My aunt had been a doctor in the foreign service and had accumulated a lot of stuff, Middle Eastern carpets, furniture, silk and cashmere scarves, art, jewelry, etc., in her career. Everything was open to all her nieces and nephews to split as we see fit, except the jewelry which was left specifically to her nieces. There was surprisingly little drama splitting any of it, we even had everything appraised so we were all in agreement on the value of what we were getting. My sister, Nina, and I all have different enough tastes in jewelry that we easily agreed on how to split the nice stuff and most of the costume jewelry was set aside for my niece and N's daughter for when they're a little older, they're both under 4. Here's where Caleb comes in. He said that his daughters deserve to have some of my aunt's jewelry as well. My sister and Nina said they're okay with splitting the costume jewelry to include his daughters. But he said that they deserve some of the nice stuff as well. My niece will probably get my sister's jewels someday and possibly mine and Nina's daughter will probably inherit what Nina got, so Caleb says it's not fair that my niece and Nina's daughter will get more than his daughters. Caleb also says since I got the house, the furniture in the house that no one else wanted, got to travel with my aunt, and she paid off a large portion of my student loans, that I should share the wealth. My siblings are staying out of it and Nina says it's ultimately my choice, but that what Caleb says isn't wrong. Aita for holding to my aunt's will. Is this a hill worth dying on? I have a great relationship with my cousins and siblings and don't want this to sour that. Top comment. NTA. Your aunt specifically left it to you. She clearly cares about it, and it wouldn't be right to disrespect her wishes. I'd hold on to the jewelry. Replies. My aunt was really interested in the role jewelry played in women's inheritance and financial security in various cultures, which is why I think she specifically left jewelry to just the nieces and not to all of 6 us. But I know the last thing she wanted was for us to argue about inheritance. When my great-grandfather, her grandfather, died, her cousin contested parts of the will and it caused a lot of drama. My dad still hasn't spoken to that cousin and it's been more than 30 years. Someone replied to me, I think Caleb's argument that you got more is really petty and a low blow trying to manipulate you. You rearranged your entire life to be your aunt's carer. That isn't insignificant, and it sounds like you had a really special relationship that she acknowledged in her will. See also inherited items, and the proceeds from selling some items, so he wasn't left out of the will. There isn't any wrong here that needs to be fixed. In the future you can sell gift or leave the items to whomever you like. If you have a close relationship with Caleb's daughters, maybe that will include them. Given his age, I'm assuming it would be some years yet before they have any use for inherited family heirlooms. Reply. Yeah, his daughters are 2 and 5, so it's not like there's some piece of jewelry that anyone's been eyeing for a wedding or anything. Another top comment. NTA, and I'm sorry for your loss, you must have become quite close to your aunt during the time you cared for her. I think your cousin needs to appreciate that you sacrificed a lot to provide care for your aunt, and that, time out, may have held back career progression although you were wise to keep in date to be able to maintain where you were before you gave up full-time work. Whatever your aunts will said, your property is yours now to dispose of as you wish, so as you say you have a good relationship with your cousin it might be nice to consider sharing items that you are not really using or have no real attachment to, or selling them and sharing the proceeds. You are under absolutely no obligation to do any of that though, and as your loss was quite shocking and recent, don't make any big decisions, and ask your siblings for support. Reply. Thank you for that. My aunt was awesome and I really miss her. She wasn't physically present when I was growing up, because of her foreign service career, but she was there every Christmas and sent us postcards from everywhere she went. I looked up to her for as long as I can remember and she's why I became a doctor. Getting to spend those last months with her and getting to see the favorite places where she lived and visited was a blessing and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think taking some time to sit on decisions is the way to go. It's jewelry, it's not like it's going to go bad. And his daughters are 2 and 5, so it's not like there's a wedding coming up imminently that they need jewelry for or anything. Update, AITA for not sharing my aunt's jewelry with my cousin's kids. Positive resolution. DR is that my aunt recently died, left her jewelry to her nieces. My male cousin was upset that his daughters wouldn't benefit. And because there was some confusion about who everyone was, 2 cousins, siblings, Caleb, male, and Nina, female. 3 siblings, I didn't give them letters but let's call them Emma, sister, Dave, brother, and Tom, brother. Caleb, Nina, and Emma all have kids. Me, Dave, and Tom don't. So the update. The 6 of us got together over the 4th. I was able to disperse the last of the proceeds from selling the art, rugs, antiques, etc. that none of us wanted. That ended up being a few $1,000s each, not life-changing money for any of us but nice to have. I will probably use it to go on a solo trip in my aunt's honor. Once I accrue enough vacation now that I'm working full-time again, I had decided based on your comments that I would offer any of my nieces, existing and future, if Dave and Tom end up having kids, that they could shop for my inherited jewelry for their weddings. Before I could even present that solution, Caleb was super apologetic about the way he had acted. He was feeling guilty that he hadn't been able to spend more time with our aunt before she died, small kids at home, work obligations, etc., and jealous that I had had more flexibility to travel with her for those months, and that made him lash out. Turns out, his wife had essentially read him the riot act when he had complained to her that their daughters weren't included, reminded him that their daughters have her whole side of the family, reminded him that jewelry is traditionally passed down female lines, the whole bit. He was quite embarrassed by how childish he had acted. But I did present that solution, and both Nina and Emma thought it was such a good idea that they said the same, when the next generation of girls gets married, that they can choose from their inheritances, too. So all is well, thank you all for your support and kind words. I am not going to go NC with any of my sibs or cousins. I still miss my aunt, work is not terribly exciting but it's a paycheck and it's nice to see that my surgical skills didn't slip irreparably. Top comment, your cousin has a good wife. Reply, she really is quite awesome. He did well. One of the top comments, the one change you may consider is to set an age, say 25, that if they are not married they can do the same choosing. Not everyone gets married. Reply, that's not a bad thing to consider. I'm in my 30s and while I'm not ruling out marriage someday, I'm also not really seeking it. Another comment, that's a good resolution op. Inheritance is strange, isn't it? My mum had a brother who inherited a lot of their father's possession, my lovely grandy, as it was mum, and therefore her children, only got token items. I have a stool, my brother has his pipe. My uncle sadly passed away nearly 10 years ago, so now his wife has most of my grandfather's remaining possessions. She's generous enough to get them out regularly, but it's hard for my mum that her father's precious things are not with his living child. And it's my aunt who gets to be generous with them, which hurts mum. For example, auntie gave me a watch of my grandfather's for my wedding. Mum would have loved to have been the giver even though we're grateful for the gift. Ultimately though those things belong to uncle, and as is right uncle's things now belong to auntie. It's good of you to be as generous as my auntie with your inheritance. I'm sure the kids will appreciate it come the time, like I did. Reply, oof, that's rough. I'm glad your aunt is generous with giving stuff back to the side of the family it came from, but I can't imagine being in your mom's shoes. Same commenter replied to that, I mean it's hard all round, isn't it, because they were her husband's things to her. But they're my grandfather's things to my mum. It's all about trying to be respectful and kind, which I feel like everyone is. Auntie will be thinking of hers and uncle's children and grandchildren getting them when she passes, no doubt, so it's very kind when she parts with something like the watch. Like your solution with the jewelry, it's a respectful and kind way to approach it. Downvoted comment, waiting for the update that Caleb is broke and will be coming soon asking for a loan. Reply, LOL. I read a lot of borrow. If this were there, it would be a 7-part saga and at the end, I would somehow have twins. Caleb would be divorced with the gambling and or drug habit and expecting triplets with a mistress, a friend of a friend lawyer would crawl out of the woodwork for something, and family helps family would be said at least a dozen times. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my roommate's friend about my heritage. I 21F am half Mexican and half Chinese. My parents came to the US before I was born, but thought it was very important for me to learn their native languages and participate in both of their cultures. Because of this, I can speak Spanish and Mandarin. Both of my parents also loved cooking, so growing up we ate a lot of traditional Mexican and Chinese dishes as well as some blended fusion meals as well. A few nights ago, I was cooking dinner at my apartment. I was making one of those fusion dishes, but I got stuck on a particular step, so I called my mom to ask for help and we talked in Spanish. I was on the phone when my roommate, N23F, came home with her friends, who I was not told were coming over. Later, one of the guys from the group came into the kitchen and asked what I was making because it smelled good. I explained the dish was created by my parents to blend Mexican and Chinese cuisine. He then asked why I was speaking on the phone in Spanish earlier, so I told him that I'm half Mexican and half Chinese, and that I grew up speaking both Spanish and Mandarin with my parents. He seemed genuinely interested and asked me more about the languages and the cooking, so we ended up talking for a while about my background and how food and language are such a big part of my life. The next day, I found out through my other roommate that and had told her I was showing off and flirting with her friend. This pissed me off because I wasn't trying to flirt with him and he was the one who started the conversation with me. I tried to talk to her about this, but she just seemed annoyed and told me that it was obvious how it looked and I should be more mindful when she has her friends over. I told her that I can't be mindful if she doesn't even warn me about having company over. She said that she doesn't have to get my permission to invite people to the apartment. I was getting irritated by this point, so I let the conversation die down after this. It's been so awkward ever since this happened, and every time I see her she's short with me and barely acknowledges me. I'm starting to wonder if I behaved out of line. Aita Reddit. I posted the recipe to what I made on my profile since many of you were curious. Stories number 12. I, 19M, have been in a relationship with a much older woman, 39F, for the last 4 months and it's starting to feel really weird. I first met her when I took a part-time job at a local small business she owns, which I no longer work at for unrelated reasons. She had been very openly hitting on me for several months before, but I didn't reciprocate, even though I did find her attractive. Due to a combination of shyness and obliviousness, I'm not very good with women and had never been in a relationship before. Eventually she pretty much outright asked me if I wanted to stop by her place one night and we wound up having sex for the first time. This relationship has been going on for a while since then, but there's a lot of things I'm finding that are really weird and off-putting even aside from the age gap itself. First of all, she constantly wants to do sexual stuff with me at random times. For example, back when I was still working for her but after our relationship had started, she would constantly call me to her office just to ask me if I wanted to make out or invite me to feel her up. She also trying sexting with me regularly, even though I usually don't respond very well since it's something I feel very awkward doing. She sometimes gets really upset when I'm not interested too, which makes it even more awkward for me. Also, she's constantly getting me very expensive gifts, which I guess sounds nice in theory, but actually makes me feel really awkward, since I generally try very hard to be self-sufficient. For example, one time she bought a fancy new laptop because she heard that I've been using the same old one for several years, which put me in kind of a weird position since I didn't want to get rid of my old laptop but also didn't want to hurt her feelings. Finally, she's always texting me late at night asking me to come over to her place and fuck her, and she sometimes gets really upset if I tell her I have other plans or am just tired. It's a 45-minute walk from my dorm to her place, so it's not just something I can do casually. She's also constantly texting me drunken rants about her ex-husband and how he stole the best years of her life, and about men in general and how they're stupid and shallow, and how she's glad that I'm smart enough not to waste time with trashy college sluts. Like I said before, I've never been in a relationship before, so I'm not really sure how much of the weird feeling in my gut is caused by actual red flags and how much is caused by the fact that I'm just not used to relationship stuff in general. Can anyone help me out here? TLDR, I've been in a relationship with a much older woman for the past few months and I'm starting to feel really weird about it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Sugar mama isn't getting enough from her sugar baby. This isn't a normal healthy relationship, if that's what you're wondering. Reply. What's unhealthy about it? Commenter 2. She likes you because she can control you. She buys you things, so that she can demand your time. You feel indebted to her because of the things she has given you. She tells you when you two are going to hook up. She tells you when you can touch her. I'd say she gets off knowing you're so inexperienced and young. She likes having some younger guy at her beck and call. I would say you're not in a relationship, at least not a boyfriend-girlfriend or partner relationship. You've entered into a sugar mama sugar baby relationship. I repeat, you are not in a relationship with this woman. Reply. Do you really think that's what's going on here? That sounds really disturbing. Then again, a lot of people here seem to be saying similar things. Commenter 3. I mean, it's 100% what's happening. She is newly out of a divorce. She wants a booty call, that's it. She's probably really resentful towards men her own age right now and wants a partnership that she can control completely. So, she gives you gifts so that you feel indebted to her. Then, when you don't want to do something, you remind her of her ex-husband, and how men suck, and she blows up at you. Trust me. You have a sugar mama. That's why this whole thing seems weird. Now that you know, you can decide what you want to do. Are you okay with continuing, now that you know this isn't a real relationship? Or would you feel more comfortable entering into a genuine relationship with someone close to your own age with less baggage? Update, 19M, just broke things off with the older woman, 39F, I was in a relationship with for the last 4 months and things have taken a turn for the worst. March 26, 2016, 3 days later. Okay, so I initially posted an update on this yesterday but it was deleted for being too soon after my first post and the situation has changed slightly since then. Hopefully this is a better time to post. After having some time to collect my thoughts, I decided that the best decision would be to break things off since we obviously had different things we wanted in the relationship. I originally planned on doing this when I next saw her. That's not how things wound up playing out. 3 nights ago after I made my first post, I got a very explicit text from her telling me she wanted to see me in half an hour and all the things she wanted me to do to her. I politely told her I wasn't interested and as usual she started to get insistent and kind of upset. Since it seemed like the path of least resistance, I just told her then and there that, while I had enjoyed our time together, I wanted something different in a relationship and wanted to break it off. She asked why and I just told her that it wasn't working and I didn't want to get in a long conversation about it. Maybe that was a mistake, but a lot of people in the last thread were telling me not to try and engage too much with her and that advice made sense to me. For the next several hours, she kept sending me messages asking me what was going on, why didn't I like her anymore, if there was anything she could do, etc. And I just kept telling her that I enjoyed what we had, but I was just ready to move on. Eventually the messages stopped and I assumed that the whole thing was over. The next day I awoke to find a ton of messages on my phone from her ranting about how she thought I was different from other guys, but I'm just another stupid shallow asshole who chases after college whores because I'm too emotionally stunted to handle a relationship with a real woman like her. A few hours later, to my shock and horror, she tried to ambush me when I was on the way to my dorm for lunch. She knows where I live, sadly, and started laying into me about how I was a shallow, immature, ungrateful asshole and she never wanted to see me again. A few hours later she started sending me more nasty messages, so I decided to block her number. She later cornered me again when I was trying to get dinner and demanded to know why I hadn't responded to any of her messages. I told her that I had blocked her number and did not want to talk to her any further, and she went off on me again and said that I was an immature loser who'll never find anyone else who's willing to touch my tiny dick again. This really got to me since I do have a lot of trouble with women. Yesterday she ambushed me yet again when I was trying to get lunch and started laying into me about how I was too shallow, stupid and ungrateful to appreciate a woman like her, how she hopes I die alone, and I just told her that I was gonna contact the authorities. I realized that there was no other option at this point, and walked off. A few hours later, after informing campus security and the local police, I temporarily unblocked her number and sent her a message saying that I had contacted the authorities and that there was gonna be trouble if she continued her behavior. She sent me a reply saying that I was being a cowardly piece of shit and I blocked her again. She made no attempt to make further contact with me since then. Hopefully the situation has at least been resolved now, although part of me is still uneasy just cause of how far she's escalated so far. I'm not gonna lie, this has taken a fairly serious emotional toll on me. One of the few women who's ever showed any interest in me, who I used to like and have some amount of respect for, suddenly turned into a complete psycho who hates my guts, and some of what she was saying did hit close to home at times. I don't doubt for a second that I made the right decision here, but part of me just wants to understand why she went so crazy so fast so I don't wind up in this situation again. Sorry if that sounds melodramatic, but that's just where I'm at right now. TLDR, I just broke things off with the older woman I was in a relationship with and she started following me around and sending me nasty messages. Final comments. Commenter 1. I just reread your first post, and it seems to me that she didn't just suddenly do a 180 and become crazy when you broke it off. All the warning signs that she might be unstable were there already. She was heavily controlling, manipulative, and used language that suggested really unhealthy ways of thinking. People who use the "you're so much more mature than all the other people your age" line are establishing an unhealthy power differential, usually because they want to control their partner. I'm so glad you got out this relationship. Reply. Yeah, I can see some of that in retrospect. I guess part of what worries me is that I still don't know enough to be confident that I could spot warning signs in the future. Commenter 2. Not to make sweeping judgment on relationships with large age differences, but to be safe I would date much closer to your age for a while. You're still very young and inexperienced, and it's too easy for someone that much older to manipulate you. It's a safe assumption that a 30-plus-year-old who's interested in a relationship with a teenager is bad news. Stories number 13. My husband just had a psychotic break from reality and told me he was leaving me and the 2 kids. I'm stunned. I think my husband has had a mental health break tonight and I'm overwhelmed. For context, we have been married for 17 years and have a 2-year-old and 5-month-old at home. He's a great father to the boys, and I am not worried about our safety. Tonight we had an argument about a few neighbors who are trying to run our HOA not well. We got into it, with me telling him that it's not worth the trouble and him insisting that if no one will stand up, that's why he needs to stand up. I left the room. However, as I went to put down our 5-month-old for a nap, I came back and he started to say super weird things. Like, you're an argon. I know the future. And this isn't the first time we've had this conversation. From what I could understand, he was implying that this isn't the first life we've had like this, and this is essentially a simulation or time loop or projection, where we relive this life over and over again. He then told me he wanted to divorce me and leave the kids. That although he loved the representation of us, if this indeed a simulation or time loop, nothing he did to try to stay would matter, because he'd be back at this moment again anyways. And everything I said would be said by an argon who would want him to stay. I was stunned. I told him this seemed like a psychotic break and I gently told him we need to get him some help. I cried, and almost begged him to let me take him into a mental hospital, but he refused. He then started packing and drove off, leaving me with the 2 kids at home. FYI, there are no drugs or cheating involved, I can go more into it, but he has a very rigid ethics code for himself and others that makes me think he has autism as well as ADHD. Also, I have a Find My iPhone on him and I can see that he literally is parked behind the house. Edit. Thank you to those in the comments who are taking this as a real mental health issue and not just a he's cheating situation. For more context, he only has one phone and I have access to it remotely. We have only one bank account and I can see what he buys. We both work from home so he doesn't leave the house regularly. And lastly, he's a very nervous driver so he almost never leaves the house without me driving him. Edit 2. Thank you to all who have pushed me to try to get help for him, as I did end up calling 988 and then the county nearby where they confirmed it is most likely a break in psychosis. They gave me a few options to get him help and I'm waiting for him to come inside from where he parked by the house before suggesting we take him to the ER for evaluation. We'll keep you posted. Edit 3. I finally got him out of the car and in the house and it was worse than I thought. He told me that last night he was seeing visions. They were dark purple evil shadows that were shadowing me along with a vision of a male coworker who I had introduced to him years ago. He's convinced that coworker has something to do with the HOA and they are a representation of evil. He also said he wanted a paternity test for both boys to make sure they were his. And then he started talking about mystics and how maybe everything his bipolar mother said wasn't crazy. So I just listened to everything he said and asked him if he was willing to go to the ER to rule out any physical issues. Then I asked if he was willing to just talk to someone in case he got anything passed down from his mother, bipolar. He then got very emotional and said he would be willing to explore all the options. I then took him to the ER and we are here now. Commenter 1. I went through very similar with my husband. He had a memory of me hurting our daughter, that had never happened. He was so sure of it, that I started doubting myself and asked my kid if I had ever hit her, twice. Both times she looked very confused and said no. He claimed I told my cousin about it, and we were laughing. So I called that cousin. She told me that if I had said that to her, that 1, there would be no laughing, and 2, she'd have reported me to CPS. Soon after this, he started threatening his own life. I finally convinced him that we had to go in. It took a lot of begging and I was nervous the whole time. It was the worst week of my life, and I am so glad it happened. He's admitted several times since that if I hadn't convinced him to go, that he'd likely have acted on the dark thoughts he was having. Please, ask him to the ER with you. Tell him you guys will talk to the doctor, let them decide. And you both have to be super honest when you answer questions from the mental health providers. Your husband needs to be seen, now. Reply. Thank you for sharing this with me, I really appreciate it. Did you end up staying with him through this? Commenter 2. This happened to my best friend and her husband, not the precise details but a similar story to you and in her case, her husband ended up having a successful brain surgery to remove a tumor, but it could be a lot of things. Best wishes to you both, and I'm sorry you're going through this. It must feel so scary. ETA, I just scrolled down and saw people being 100% certain he's cheating on OP. Also lots of cases where OP is being downvoted and spoken to like she's a fool. Y'all need to dial it back from being positive, you know this is just infidelity. Maybe it is true, so sure give advice, but why TF are people downvoting OP? I'm sure glad my friend didn't come on Reddit to tell her story when her, also autistic, husband started acting like this before being diagnosed with an actual brain tumor, because no one needs that stress on top of a potential health crisis. Commenter 3. Does he have a history of concussions? If so, how long ago was the last one? Any new foods, over-the-counter or prescription meds? Reply. Yes, he had a concussion a few years back when we got in a car crash. No new meds, but he had been diagnosed with ADHD when he was a kid, and I always thought he had autism too. Stories number 14. I don't want to be around the conservative husbands of two of my friends anymore, and I'm not sure how to explain it to them. I have two women friends with conservative partners, one a husband, one a fiancé. Who they associate with romantically is their decision, and I'm not looking to change hearts or minds. But let me briefly express my problem with being around each of their partners. Janet is a single mother engaged to a man who is outspokenly conservative. He argues that liberals shouldn't tell people what to think in matters of civil rights by legislating equality, particularly LGBT+ rights, which is especially problematic for me as a trans mother. He also calls Janet bitch casually in front of her friends and her kids. I have witnessed this personally in their home. Janet doesn't appear to mind, but it makes me very uncomfortable. This is also why I continuously denied Janet's daughter and mine a play date at Janet's house, because I don't want my daughter around such blatant misogyny. Margaret is married to a man and they have two sons together, the eldest similarly aged to my daughter. Janet is beautiful and intelligent and educated, but is very timid and has little self-esteem, and has let men walk all over her in the 22 years I've known her. Her husband gaslights her, and coerced her emotionally into sacrificing her career to raise their first kid as a som and maintain his home while he works long hours in a career he enjoys. He justifies not helping with housework or childcare because he is the one who works. Eventually, he pressured her into having a second child she did not want. He is also condescending to her for being a moderate. She is in fact very liberal but downplays it to appease him, and says misogynistic things about her in front of his friends and employees that makes her uncomfortable. She's lucky she's sleeping with the boss, sort of shit. I never want to be around either of these men again, for my sanity and the safety of my daughter. I don't know the best way to explain it to my friends. I realize it may be best to completely detach these women from my life, but I don't know if it's less hurtful to them to try to explain my decision or simply ghost them. Stories number 15. I'm moving out because of my 13 years old sister. I, 18F, live with my parents and my 13 years old sister. I wasn't planning on moving out for a little bit when I had some more money saved up because living at home hasn't been bad at all. But my sister has pushed me to the point where I am now moving out. This has been going on for a long time, but recently it's gotten much worse. She constantly steals from me. Like on a daily basis. I can't even keep my things in the bathroom because she takes them. A brand new container of very expensive body butter that I had only used a couple times was quite literally wiped clean and put back in my drawer. When I confronted her, she screamed at me saying I was the one who used it, and I was accusing her other things that I bought and used a couple times were half gone 2 days later. Expensive things that I bought with my money that I work for. I wouldn't mind her using them here and there or just a little bit, but she is literally using them up in 2 to 3 days and I don't even get to use the things I bought. I came home from work one day and she was screaming at my mom about how it's not fair she has to do the dishes and why can't I do them. My mom told her I just worked for 12 hours and she's been home watching TV all day. So my sister sits there screaming about how I'm lazy and I do nothing and we all hate her. Then I go upstairs and my whole room smells like my very expensive perfume that I haven't used in weeks. My makeup bag is on my bed open with all of my makeup all over my bed. My brand new lip oil that I went to 2 stores to find and got the only one left is gone. I go downstairs and she's wearing my brand new shorts that I just bought 3 days before. The shorts wouldn't have been a huge deal except every time I let her borrow clothes I either never get them back or they come back ruined. After she screamed at me and called me a horrible sister for not letting her wear my $60 pair of pants to school, she brought them back covered in paint. I let her wear a pair of jeans and specifically said I had to have them back the next day for my senior pictures, and she traded them with someone at school. And did the same thing with a pair of my shoes. But if I step in her room to wake her up for school, I'm screamed at because I didn't have permission to go in her room. I understand she is young, but she knows better than to steal and act like this. She has no friends, and if she gets one it never lasts. So I'm made to feel guilty for going out on my very few days off with my friends because I didn't bring her with. Well, what does a 13-year-old have in common with 18 to 20 years old? She says it's not fair I go out and do things and she has no friends. Yet she has no friends because of how she acts. My mom has talked to her multiple times and yet nothing ever changes and she still does it. I never say anything because I don't want problems, but I can't keep doing this, it is getting on my last nerve. Mind you, I spent over $200 on her birthday gifts buying her all of the things she takes from me, thinking maybe she just wanted her own things, but she is still doing it. Update, she just stole from me again and lied to my face. She was wearing me Adidas shoes that I keep in my closet on the top shelf, and I said those are my shoes, and she said mom gave them to me today and said she didn't want them. I did let my mom borrow them one night and thought maybe she still had them and forgot. Told my mom when she got home those white shoes you gave her were mine, and she had no clue what I was talking about. She said she never gave her any shoes. And my sister stormed upstairs talking under her breath, thanks a lot, I hate you. Commenter 1. But why aren't your parents punishing her when she uses, steals, destroys your stuff? I would think having consequences might get her to change her ways. Reply. My mom has talked to her about it many times. But she is never actually punished, which I feel is unfair because I definitely would have been at that age. A lot of times they act like it doesn't matter. Commenter 2. Tell your mother if she can't control her kid and doesn't feel like giving her consequences for her actions, then she needs to let you install a lock on your door that requires a key that only you have a copy of. And that if she's so concerned about your sister going out and being social, she can bring your little sister out with her whenever she leaves the house. Commenter 3. Tell your mother if she can't control her kid and doesn't feel like giving her consequences for her actions, then she needs to let you install a lock on your door that requires a key that only you have a copy of. And that if she's so concerned about your sister going out and being social, she can bring your little sister out with her whenever she leaves the house. Stories number 16. I, 30F, stopped cleaning and doing all the mental load, and my partner, 37M, is now fuming. I have some background in my previous post, so I'm not going to go into too much detail now. I'm 30 and he's 37, together almost 3 years and living together for 2 years now. I do the appointments on our cars, maintenance, yard work, cleaning, laundry, mopping, hovering, cooking, groceries, and overall planning of our lives and what we need and what needs to be done. I also pay all the bills and handle finances, though we contribute 50-50 financially. He occasionally, once a month, cooks one meal, sometimes empties the dishwasher. We just recently had yet another discussion of the housework and I asked him to take on more of it. He said of course. In the past days he started doing even less. I was hovering, cleaning, making dinner and all that while he was watching TV or playing on the computer. This happens a lot. He will peel the potatoes or take carpets outside if I ask him, but nothing more. So I went on strike. I have been sitting in our bedroom just relaxing. He was supposed to handle our car's maintenance appointment, so he came to me and said should I call them now and get the appointment. I said however you want to. He said if I get the appointment now, you will have to pick me up. I said okay, let me know. Then he got mad and left. Couple of days before my strike, this is what kind of broke the camel's back, I asked him to make me a shopping list before I left. He sat with his phone and kept asking me what do we need. I kept saying I don't know, maybe check. He kept constantly asking what else. And I told him to stop using my brain for this. So in the end he only added 5 to 6 items on the list, most of them were for himself, snacks. I'm so over and done with this bullshit of handling not only my life, but my business and also his life. He takes zero responsibility for anything and now has the audacity to get angry at me. I'm so pissed right now. Also our house looks disgusting now after just 2 days of striking. TLDR. Partner is now mad at me for going on strike as I do 99% of the chores inside and outside of our home including mental load. Update. He came home, the kitchen being a mess, trash overflowing and just general untidiness. He went to take a nap instead. He is asking me what's wrong and why am I acting the way I am. I'm honestly just done with explaining the most obvious shit to him over and over again. He doesn't seem to get it. This house looks like a pigsty right now and he doesn't lift a finger to do anything about it, but has the audacity to ask me what's wrong. What the hell, man? What is wrong with this person honestly? He won't clean, won't take responsibility for anything and won't even fuck me. I don't know what I am, I just feel like a sugar mama or something. Commenter 1. I divorced this guy and it was the best decision. Commenter 2. He won't clean, won't take responsibility for anything and won't even fuck me. What exactly is keeping you in this relationship? I have friends that do at least 1 to 2 out of the 3 of those things. Ask yourself if you really want to spend the rest of your life with this man. Do you want your children to carry half his DNA? You are still young enough to start again but not young enough to throw away more years of your life. Think about that for a while. Commenter 3. This is the same man that will wonder why his wife left him for no reason. Give it to him straight. If he doesn't shape up, leave him. Commenter 4. Girl, I told my now husband that I was looking for a partner, someone who made my life better and who I wanted in my life, not needed. He agreed to be that person. He does dishes and laundry daily while also caring for our baby on days that I work, opposite of his. If I was with your guy I would not be paying a dime for anything. And I'd probably request he pay for a housekeeper because I'm not his mom and keeping the house vs cleaning up after him are 2 very different things. Stories number 17. I feel like such an asshole, but I don't like giving cookies to kids. Basically what the title says. I work in a bakery. We give out free cookies to kids. We don't bake them specifically for kids, we just put the extras that don't fit in packaging in a container and keep them for kids. Over the years of working in the bakery, I've grown to resent handing out cookies to kids. Every time a kid comes up to bakery entrance, I'm forced to stop whatever I'm doing, and hand out a cookie. It takes time out of my shift, and doing this almost 10 plus times a shift eventually adds up with time, and takes time away from my actual responsibilities. This isn't mentioning the fact that some kids just don't have any manners at all, or act entitled. They ask for specific kinds of cookies. I want a chocolate chip cookie. With no other preamble or please and thank you, which we don't always have, because again, we only keep the extras for kids. I've had kids complain about the type of cookie and the size of cookie. Sometimes we only have mini cookies instead of regular cookies, and I've had multiple kids ask for multiple cookies instead of just one. One kid, who was well old enough to know their manners, over 10 years, at least, just came up to me, held out their hand, and said, "Cookie." As if that was a full sentence. Sometimes the parents come up for the kid and act all coy and smile really brightly like, "Is it possible that you have any cookies for my kids?" And to that, I'm just like, why doesn't the kid come get it themselves? And please stop acting like your kid is the best thing since the sun began to shine. Or when the kid tries to stick their hand into the container. I've had to gently push hands away before because that's a health and safety issue. We're only supposed to use the tongs to grab them. Stop sticking your dirty fingers in the container of cookies. There's even one family with 7 kids that stops by to get a cookie for each kid, which then wipes out our cookies, and we're forced to open a package of cookies that would have sold otherwise. At that point, just buy a package of cookies, don't ask for 7 free cookies. And my least favorite, which made me genuinely angry, I closed down the bakery and shut the lights off, clocked out of my shift, and then did some of my own shopping. When I stopped by the bakery entrance to grab the bread I had put aside, there was a parent with 2 kids brazenly entering the employee-only space to grab cookies for his kids, without using the tongs, despite the bakery clearly being closed. Like, just tell your kid they'll get their cookie another day. Say no. Or better yet, buy one of our packages of cookies for them, if you refuse to say no to your kids. Because when the bakery is closed, that means no more free cookies until it opens again. But some people don't seem to understand that, and before anyone says it, yes, I know, this makes me a bitch. I know that there are worse things than handing out cookies to children. But it has become such a huge pet peeve of mine, and I needed somewhere to scream about it. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my friend he's not even close to as handsome as my boyfriend. My boyfriend has a friend who is fairly conventionally attractive and kind of annoying about it. The friend tends to make jokes at my boyfriend's expense, usually poking fun at my boyfriend's nose. My boyfriend has a unique, larger, very handsome nose that I am very attracted to. It's very masculine and appealing to me, so when I hear his friend making fun of his big nose and comparing my boyfriend to Angry Birds, it slightly bothers me, but it doesn't appear to bother my boyfriend. and my boyfriend has even said the jokes make him laugh. We were all drinking at a party the other day and the friend was once again making jokes at my boyfriend's expense about the way he looks. I was pretty drunk and over the jokes, so I said, "Oh please, you wish you looked like him," with a smile on my face. He seemed genuinely caught off guard since I'm normally fairly passive. He said something along the lines of, "Why would I want to look like him?" I replied with, "Because you're not even close to as handsome as him." I thought it would come across as flirty and cute because I'm his girlfriend, so of course I think he is the most handsome in the world. I thought it would be a nice ego boost for my boyfriend as well since he was getting dogged on for his nose all the time. My boyfriend enjoyed my response, but his friend seemed actually hurt by what I said. I heard later that he was telling others that what I said was really rude and uncalled for. Some of my friends think I was just dishing it back, but other friends say I went too far and was just being petty and rude. Commenter 1. Friend knows he's not as attractive and is insulting your boyfriend to try to make himself feel better. You jabbed him in his sensitive spot and it hurt. Your NTA, friend needs to work on himself instead of lashing out and bringing others down to try to boost himself. Commenter 2. NTA. Dude shouldn't dish it out if he can't take it. Commenter 3. NTA for defending your BF. If his friend can't take it, he shouldn't dish it out. Stories number 19. My GF's best friend asked her to marry her. I'm a US citizen. Important to story, I've been with my girlfriend for 8 years. We have talked about marriage and kids together and we're planning on moving in together and everything. She has a degree and is about to get her graduate's degree. Her best friend is on a student visa and is finding it hard to get a job to sponsor her work visa. She also has her bachelor's and has completed everything. I know her friend. She has a finite amount of time, like less than a year, to find something or she would be illegal. I'm sorry I'm ignorant to the process. She asked my girlfriend if worse comes to worse would she be willing to marry her to help her. The problem is that means you have to get bills together, live together, we can't take pictures together online, go out of town the way we like because of the amass of legal issues and investigations that pop up. Then if she gets pregnant during this, everyone is just massively in trouble. Her friend said if they stayed married for like 3 to 5 years they can divorce and the friend could take her time doing things to become legal. The problem is I've spoken to some friends and they say that it's more like 20 plus years, with one saying his mother took 26 years to get her green card and that was married to a US citizen. I respect my GF with all my heart, but I am not comfortable with this. I don't want her to possibly be in a bunch of legal trouble. She's a bad liar. I also just feel like it's not a good idea and is dangerous and risky. I also don't mean to be selfish, but it's like pausing our relationship for a possible 5 years, which doesn't seem realistic, holding off on living together, kids and maybe even her schooling because of taxes, divorces, etc. My girlfriend is also a little uncomfortable, but it's also her best friend. I'm willing to help get an immigration lawyer and spend money to help her friend. I'm just not sure if I'm in the wrong, if I'm crazy, or what I should do. Edit, Ty everyone for the advice. In the morning I'm going to discuss this with my GF and show her all these posts. If I don't respond to you I will when I wake up. I really appreciate it. We've been stressing since like 10 a.m. yesterday. Update, we talked about it, she was more feeling obligated, but not knowing how to say no. Working on a plan to help her find out that doesn't cross that boundary. We can help, but that is a boundary we can't cross, but we will try and find a solution. We can't stop or halt our lives for others. Commenter 1. Girlfriend needs to put her foot down and say no, but reassure the friend that you both are there to help them stay in the country legally, because what they're proposing is a crime. Reply, yeah, we're going to talk in person next week. I just don't want my GF's friend to feel like she has nowhere left to go. I'm also kind of a blunt weapon and I don't want to be an ass. We've been talking all day. My GF is uncomfortable and doesn't know what to do. I intend to show her this post as well. Let her know what others think because we can't really say anything due to the legality. She does have time though, like 11 months. I feel like a lot can be done in that time. Commenter 2. Immigration is gonna see right through that. They're gonna see her visa is about to expire and your GF is gonna get charged. No question about it. I've got friends that are from Turkey and one of them paid tens of thousands to do it right and it took 10 years. His brother had under a year left so he got married. The wife got called in by herself and grilled her. She was fined $20,000 and about lost her L license for it. Immigration have seen it all. Reply. Thank you like I said in some other post. I think my GF understands it's just not wanting to be mean etc. These real-life examples are good though. Commenter 3. That's a felony. Stay far away from that and don't even joke about it. Hopefully, none of this is in her online history. Marriage fraud is not a joke, immigration takes it very seriously, and especially how things are now, you don't want to be anywhere near this. Reply. Yeah, I have been saying this today, that this isn't a good idea and is dangerous. Especially now. I think she knows and understands, she's just not sure what to do or how to go about doing it. I told her I was okay being the bad guy in this situation and putting my foot down, but I also don't want to be an ass. Also, this post is to help her know she's not in the wrong. I'm going to show her in the morning. Stories number 20. Entitled mom gets me to make accommodations for her during my daughter's birthday, then doesn't bring a gift after letting me know she didn't bring a gift. So here's a tale of light chaos, mom group politics, and one very entitled mom. My daughter's 8th birthday party was supposed to be a fun, big celebration, but due to unusual circumstances in our neck of the woods, we had to cancel everything. Once everything has calmed down, I still wanted her to have some kind of party. She'd been through a lot, as did the other kids. The original plan, which involved a special location with a big attraction, was no longer possible, so I decided to throw the party at our home and invite just the girls in her class. That was still 23 kids, which I had to entertain myself, but I was willing to do it to make her happy. I sent an invite in the girls' moms group, time, place, everything. Everyone responded with of course. And we'll be there. Great. A few days later, someone messages the group, does anyone know when the hip-hop concert is? Turns out it's on the exact same day. Only 2 of the girls are performing in it, so it wasn't a huge deal. These things happen. Then one of the moms, let's call her entitled mom or EM, chimes in with, how about you change the time so my daughter can come to the birthday? Now, I wasn't angry. Honestly, she wanted to make it work so her daughter could celebrate with mine, and that's sweet in theory. But the other moms were horrified. Because, who asks someone to reschedule their child's party for them? Still, I figured, fine. Let's try to make it work. I told her, just bring your daughter and the other girl a little earlier. I'd give them their party favors, do a bit of the activity early, make sure they got a nice moment. Everyone would be happy. The day of the party arrives. I am beside myself, trying to set up the party in time for the early arrivals as well as the rest of the party. EM starts calling me telling me about how difficult all this is for her, she has a ton of stuff to get done, blah blah blah. I am literally on the floor duct taping a plastic table cover for the activity. Eventually, I am fed up and tell her that I am kinda busy, then EM tells me after wasting more of my time, she will be late. For the early time SHE requested. The other mom, not entitled mom, comes early with her daughter, stays with her, helps out, is super thankful and appreciative. Great energy. EM keeps calling me for dumb stuff and to vent to me, eventually shows up late, drops her daughter off, screams to me from the window of her car that her dad will pick her up and drives away. Both me and the other mom are shocked. Then her dad shows up to pick the daughter up an hour later and calls me to bring her downstairs. I told him, I'm in the middle of hosting the party. I was not clear enough. He said, just send her down. The girl goes out, then comes back crying, she is too scared. At this point I am ready to choke them both. Only after I called him did he deign to get out of his car and come take his daughter. So not only did I have to do a double start to the party and juggle everything for the early birds, which really messed me up, I shouldn't have done it, I also got constant texts and calls from EM and her ex while trying to manage 20 excited girls. Still, my daughter was happy, especially because those girls are close friends. So I sucked it up and told myself, whatever, it's about her, not me. Now here's where the entitlement really peaks. In my community, we have a system that's considered both eco-friendly and financially responsible. Instead of everyone buying gifts, most of which are plastic junk, the parents agree on a modest amount to transfer digitally, like Venmo. It lets the kids pool the funds for one meaningful gift, and avoids waste and pressure. Some still prefer to give a physical gift, which is great, they get to enjoy both worlds. So EM apparently didn't give a gift, but I didn't notice or care, I do not keep count. My daughter never checks who gave what, she was thrilled just to be with her friends. But A few days later, I get a text from EM, "Oh no. I totally forgot to give your daughter a gift. What does she prefer, money or something physical?" I told her, "Whatever is easiest for you." I genuinely meant it. She said she'd send money. She never did. Not a gift either, not a peep or a thank you. And I still don't care, she obviously needs this money more than my daughter, for medicine. But really? The nerve. Ask me to reschedule an entire party to accommodate you, be late to your own requested time, drop your kid off and leave me to manage her more than any other girl, not give a gift, then bring it up yourself, and then still not doing it. Just needed to vent. My girl had the time of her life and is oblivious to my frustrations. Stories number 21. Aita for traumatizing my roommate's girlfriend. I, 21M, live in a flat with my two friends, James, 23, and Emma, 24. Since the pandemic started, James' girlfriend, Sarah, 23, had moved in with us. She'd lost her job because of the pandemic, which had eventually led to her losing her flat. We had no issue with her moving in with us, she needed a place to stay. She was really chill for the first week or two, but she gradually started trying to dictate everything in the house. It started off with really trivial things like what movies we watched, we're big horror fans, Sarah isn't, what we could eat, having to go without hot water so she could take long baths every night, etc. We all let this slide at first as she'd been through a lot and we didn't want her to feel unwelcome. It started to escalate to her dictating what we were allowed to eat, moving things around in our rooms, taking Emma's things without permission and even throwing our things away. She threw away my signed Reanimator poster that my dad got me because she was grossed out by it. She'd complain all the time about the horror-related items in mine and Emma's bedroom. Emma and I completely understand that not everyone likes horror, but she was, quite frankly, being a pain in the ass. So we refused to stop wearing our horror t-shirts as we wore them all the time, way before Sarah moved in with us. They're not graphic in the slightest. Where I might be a massive asshole. It happened last week and I'm still getting a lot of crap for it. It wasn't too long after she threw away the Reanimator poster I mentioned. I was still pretty pissed off as it was a present from my dad. We don't speak anymore due to family troubles. I'd taken a nap, sleep schedule isn't great, and when I woke up and left my bedroom, I saw Emma, James and Sarah sitting on the sofa watching Hereditary. I was surprised to say the least, but found out later that Sarah and James had, though if they stayed there long enough, Emma would leave. She was watching the movie before they came back, and they could make out or whatever on the sofa. No idea why they didn't just go to James' room, but, you know, I decided to be petty, snuck over to the sofa and waited. For those who don't know, one of the main characters in the movie does a tongue click sort of thing quite a lot. I waited for a quiet moment and did the tongue click. Sarah freaked out. I got an earful from both of them about how I was an asshole for scaring Sarah when I know how much she hates horror movies and how I'm childish. I accept that it was pretty childish, but I was stressed and petty. But she's been telling people about how I traumatized her and how she couldn't sleep all night. She was right about that, but from the noises coming from their bedroom, I don't think it's because she was scared. She even told people that I gave her a panic attack, which I didn't. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. If she's that freaked out, she should not be sitting there watching the movie. Reply. Thanks, yeah, I thought it was weird cause she complained when we watched Goosebumps, but she'll quite happily sit there when an adult horror is on. I don't understand her. Commenter 2. NTA, her throwing out your stuff is a dick move. Not gonna lie. She's not won the lease, she should go. This chick is taking advantage of the situation. She has crossed the line one too many times. And obviously no one else has said anything. Not cool in the slightest. All I'm gonna say is if she would have thrown my stuff out of my room, without permission violating my privacy, some choice words would have been said. Reply. Thanks, smiley face. I did have some choice words for her, but I was too upset to actually have a go at her. I know it's stupid, but I actually cried. That was something my dad got for me and it was a nice memory. We're hoping she'll get her own place, but not sure how that's gonna go. Commenter 3. Nta. But you guys need to have some kind of housemates meeting to discuss Sarah's bullshit and tell James that this can't continue. She doesn't even pay rent, and even if she did, she shouldn't be dictating what you can't have in your own room, what you can wear, throwing out your stuff, etc. It's crazy that you've let this go on for so long as it is. As for traumatizing Sarah, that's absolutely ridiculous, she was watching the scary movie by her own choice. She needs to get a grip. Reply, it's sort of a lose-lose situation. We know for a fact that James is more likely to take Sarah's side in all this. That'll just make things really awkward and tense. We have to keep dealing with her BS if we don't call attention to it. We accept it's our own fault for letting this go on so long. Hopefully she either finds her own place or we can figure out a way to move out, once we manage to get our financial situation in order. Thanks for commenting. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect all the kind comments and awards. Thank you so much to everyone. I figured I should clarify a few things as I've seen a few people in the comments suggestion asking similar things. No, Sarah does not pay for anything. She paid about half of what the rest of us pay for a couple months then stopped due to money troubles. We have tried talking to her and James about her attitude and trying to dictate everything we do in our own home. James stopped talking to us for a couple days and it was really awkward and tense in the flat for a while. We've spoken to Sarah about her behavior multiple times but she just accuses us of overreacting. The only time I've actually yelled at her was when she threw away some of my things. Emma and I have contacted the landlord to see if there's any chance we can install a lock on our bedroom door. I know scaring her was childish but I just sort of snapped, not an excuse, but a part of me doesn't fully regret it. She made our life hell and it gives me a tiny sense of satisfaction knowing that got her back in a small way. Emma and can't move out due to financial troubles or we would have. We have, however, been keeping an eye out for affordably places to stay. We're going to have a talk with James when he gets back and discuss Sarah getting her own place so hopefully we won't have to move out of our own home. Thank you for the support everyone. Oh and yeah, the poster was signed by Jeffrey Combs. Update. To start, I want to start with thanking the people who commented and offered advice on my last post, it was really appreciated and really helped. I've also accepted that I am a bit of an for being so petty but a part of me doesn't really regret scaring Sarah. Myself and Emma spoke with James about Sarah's behavior, dictating what we can and can do in our flat, throwing away our belongings etc. Needless to say, this did not go to plan and it ended in a huge argument and, what I believe to be, the end of our friendship. There was a lot of yelling and nothing got resolved. He told Sarah about our talk and she went out of her way to make nasty comments about us and call us pathetic. My anxiety was through the roof in the days after our row as I didn't want to lose my friend and felt that I had ruined everything, maybe I was just being pathetic. Honestly, Emma was my rock through all this hassle and managed to convince me that this wasn't my fault. She's an angel. Anyways, skip to last week, we get a call from one of our friends, Sam. He just recently moved out of his parents' house into a nice 2-bedroom apartment. He's been struggling a bit with bills and, due to a bad family situation, he can't move back home. He asked us if we'd be open to moving in with him. He knew about our current situation and wanted to help us out, plus it helps him financially. Emma and I already share a room as well so there was no issues with the bedrooms. Plus, Sam is a huge horror nerd like us so it works out for the best. We've already given James and our landlord fair warning. He was a godsend. Emma and I are moving out in a few weeks, we have some things to get sorted, personal and financial, and then we'll be out of here. Our friend's apartment is a little further away from our work college than we'd like but we can work something out, it's worth getting up half an hour earlier to go to work rather than have to deal with Sarah. We didn't want to leave our home because of her but Emma already has enough on her plate between work and her personal life that she doesn't care too much and I'm too emotionally drained to really care about the old place, I just want to move out of that stressful environment. Not the ending I hoped for but things are looking up for Emma and I. Oh, plus, we're gonna start saving to go to a convention together to get another poster signed, once all this COVID stuff is over. It won't bring back the poster that my dad got signed but we can make new memories which will be better than just going out and buying a signed Reanimator poster, if that makes any sense. Final comments. Commenter 1. Congratulations OP. A triple hooray for Emma, Sam and you. I'd be wary of another Sarah shitshow as the moving day approaches. Secure your belongings. Reply. Thank you and yeah that's a pretty good tip tbh, she probably would do something like that. Edit. Okay, wow this got a lot more comments than I was expecting. Apologies for not being able to reply, had to help out at work and sleep. I've read them all though, again sorry for the lack of replies. I've seen a lot of people suggesting that Emma and I start moving our stuff into Sam's flat ASAP and to keep an eye on our belongings in case Sarah tries anything. Thank you to everyone that suggested it, Emma and I have taken your advice and we're going to speak to Sam about moving some of our belongings into his flat in the next couple of weeks. I also saw a lot of people asking how Sarah and James reacted when we told them that we were moving out. Needless to say, James was not happy to hear that he'd have to find new roommates or pay for everything himself. Sarah was also not too pleased that her verbal punching bags would be leaving and that she might have to get a job to help pay rent. I hope this cleared some things up for you guys, smiley face. Again, thank you for all the kind comments and awards, you folks really are amazing. Stories number 22. This is what our officiate was going to wear without telling us. We implemented a hand fasting into our ceremony because we liked it and were not following any particular traditions. This is the only Celtic thing really involved. Our officiate is a family member of my partner who is into Celtic stuff. We asked him to write some small pieces in the ceremony script, just stuff like welcoming the guests and any personal anecdotes. He didn't do that. He waited until we asked what he had 10 days before the wedding and then sent us a Google copy-pasted highly Celtic-inspired ceremony, like, including rune stones. So we had the realization we should ask what he's wearing. This is what he sent. I really thought wedding planning might not drive me to insanity, but with every day the universe tests me a bit more. Officiate has been told he needs to wear a suit. He said he didn't have one. We told him to buy one. He said fine, but he's not wearing a jacket because it will be too hot. I am not going to bring up the fact that his original outfit is literally a jacket. Pictures of a white, hooded jacket with a life tree on it. Pants in the same vein. Update. I am so happy to report that after our chat with our officiate, he actually did lock in. He told us he understood it was our wedding and everything was ultimately up to us. The day before, he was the one driving us to the hotel, helping us set up the venue, picking up our desserts, etc. That was part of the reason we didn't want to completely kick him off officiate duties, because we were relying on him for other things and didn't want to take that away from him while still expecting other things. We got married in a rainy area, and he even made a point to open the car door for me every time we went somewhere so he could get an umbrella over my head to make sure my hair stayed okay. He really was amazing. He went out of his way to help us and even covered the cost of the hotel, all the places we ate at in the days before and after, the desserts for the wedding, etc. We did a practice run in the hotel with him and he took it very seriously. He annotated his script, that we wrote in its entirety, and took notes. On the day, he dressed normally. It probably wasn't what other people would want, aka, it was less formal than might be expected of an officiate, but we weren't having a super strict wedding anyways. Before the snarky comments, not strict doesn't mean that Temu Druid was okay, he did great as an officiate and as a family member supporting us through the wedding. The day was amazing and my now husband and I cannot stop talking about how we cannot find anything to complain about, which feels like a fucking miracle in the world of weddings. Genuinely one of the best days of my life and I'm glad we chose the people we did to support us through it. Posting here was pretty funny because I got to see firsthand how no matter what you do, people will find something to judge. My partner and I tried hard to not be strict and overbearing during planning, since it's just one day in our lives. I was also particularly aware of the bridezilla trope and didn't want to make that impression. But somehow in the comments of my original post I got judgment for both not being as strict as I should and for being overly controlling lol. Someone literally called me a bridezilla for wanting to choose what my officiate wore. So, in the end, this was a valuable lesson that no matter what people will find something to complain about when you're planning a wedding, and if you're in that position right now, just try to be reasonable and kind, including to yourself, and you'll be okay. In the end it is your day, trust your gut even if that means making choices others might not approve of. Maybe not the best message to end with on this particular subreddit, but oh well. Stories number 23. My friend wants me to remove my piercings for her engagement party wedding photos. I'm re-uploading this because the quality on the screenshots was really bad in my last post, I'm not sure if this will look better. I made this account just to ask about this specific issue. I'm worried that I may be overreacting in this situation. I would be okay with removing the piercings if I knew that I would be able to get them back in afterwards, which I'm worried is a selfish mindset to have when my friend is getting married, but honestly how quickly she's willing to replace me just hurts a lot. AIO. The text messages. The messages. Friend. Hi. Weird question, but are you able to remove your piercings? Or do they kinda have to stay in? Me. Like, am I able to remove them at all? Friend, I mean, would you be able to take them out for a few hours and then put them back in when you get home? Me, well, for some of them I can take them out for however long and then just put them back in. TBH, I'm not too sure because I never really take my piercings out anyways. But I took my nose ring out once for a few hours and I wasn't able to put it back in myself. But the piercings in my lobes I can pretty much leave out for however long. Cowboy hat face. Friend, what about the other piercings in your ears? Sorry, I'm not sure what their names are. Me, well, the industrial piercing, the ball thingy, I can't really take out at all because it's pretty fresh. And all the other ones I'm really not sure, I've never had any of them out for an extended period really. Friend, if you could find out, I'd appreciate that. The reason I'm asking is because of the engagement party. I'm just not really into the idea of someone being in my pictures if they've got a lot of piercings. So I was just curious if you could take them out for the few hours the party's on and then put them back in once you're home. Me, is it just the ones in my face you want me to take out? The piercings closing really depends on the person, I think. Some people's close really fast and others don't. But I remember my nose piercing closed up pretty fast. And I think the lip piercing would close pretty fast too. Friend, I'd prefer if you took out all of them, because we are planning on doing some pictures to the side as well. So that means your ears would be visible. I mean, if you want to just leave your lobes and that's okay. But all the other ones you have going up your ear and especially the bar I wouldn't want in the photos. Me, I look online and see if I'd be able to take them out for the pictures. How long will taking the pictures take? Because maybe the piercings coming out would be fine. Friend, well, it's going to be an all-day thing. That's why I asked if you can take them out for a few hours. Me, oh, okay, I understand. Friend, it's nothing against you, just to clarify. I just don't want someone with a lot of piercings in my pictures because I feel like it might ruin the aesthetic I'm going for. Me, if I'm not able to take them out, what will happen then? Friend, is getting them pierced again an option? If you're not able to get the piercings back in, me, it is an option. It would just cost a lot of money getting my piercings done again, lol. Friend, can you afford it? Me, I probably can. I would just rather not have to get all of my piercings done again, lol. But again, they might not even close. I might be able to take them out and have no problems, but I really think it depends on the person. Friend, do you not research these piercings before you get them? Rolling on the floor laughing. If you could find out, I'd appreciate it. Because I really don't want to exclude you from the photos. Me, what do you mean? Friend, if you can't want to take the piercings out, then I'm going to have to leave you out of the photos. And I'll probably have to replace you as a bridesmaid. Because I was assuming you'd be able to take them out when I made you a bridesmaid. And I really just don't want that stuff in my pictures. Me, well, I'll definitely find out. I don't want to ruin your pictures or anything. Grinning face with sweat. Friend, I know that. I was hoping you would just be willing to remove them. Didn't think getting them pierced again or whatever would be something you'd be unwilling to do. Me, that's just a very expensive thing to ask me to do. I don't want to make it seem like my piercings are more important than your wedding or anything, lol. Friend, then I'm not understanding why you can't just take them out. Your friend is getting married. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing and now it's being made difficult because you're refusing to take out some jewelry. Me, I never said I refused to take them out. I just said I'd need to find out like roughly how long I can keep them out for. Friend, why does it matter? I'm getting married. I wouldn't have made you a bridesmaid if I thought this was going to be a big deal. Me, I just feel like it's not a very fair thing to expect of someone. Friend, I'd sincerely appreciate it if you could find a way around this whole piercing thing. Once again, nothing to do with you. I just don't want that aesthetic in my photos. Me, these piercings cost money. They were very expensive. Telling me to just them done again isn't very helpful. It's your wedding and I want you to be happy, but your attitude towards this hasn't felt great. Friend, if you want me to be happy, then you'll find a way around it. Let me know soon in case I need to find a replacement for you. Added comments. Commenter, do any of the other bridesmaids have piercings? Has she asked them to remove them? Or tattoos has she asked them to cover up? You need to know if she's just being funny with you. It's not like you can't style your hair to cover ear piercings. The entitlement is wild. Why ask right before not when she was asking you? Honestly, I'd just say you don't want to be a bridesmaid anymore. Save yourself the headache. Reply, she was originally going to make her sister a bridesmaid but then decided against it because her sister has a lot of tattoos on her arms. I don't think it's anything to do with me personally, she just doesn't like that type of style. As for the other bridesmaids, the only piercings they have as far as I know are their ear lobes. One of them also has a nose stud, but I'm not sure what she's doing to do about that. Commenter, I'm sorry but she's not your friend. Has she ever treated you this poorly in the past? Reply, I dyed my hair and when she saw me she just rolled her eyes and sighed at me, lol. She's usually fun to be around but she just starts acting weird over tattoos, piercings and like anything of that nature. And OP added more info the comments. I should have included this in the original post so I'll just say it here. She has a thing about her wedding being authentic and in her eyes piercings, tattoos and all that aren't authentic. Because of this she also doesn't want her wedding photos edited, that's why she wants everything to look perfect so nothing is made looked unauthentic. This was something she told us months ago and it honestly slipped my mind while I was making the post, but the comments asking about Photoshop made me remember. And one of our friends told me that she's said in the past that she thinks tattoos and piercings are just indications that someone didn't have a good upbringing. She just has a weird hatred towards alternative people for some reason, so I genuinely don't know why she surrounds herself with people who fall into that category. Update. Hello everyone, hopefully people can find this update because I'm not really sure how this app works. TBH, I just wanted to say that the post got a lot more comments than I was expecting and I tried to read through reply to a lot of them but it was very difficult. I still really appreciate the kind words though. This entire interaction was a lot more aggressive than I was expecting it to be, on my part and on her part. Because I'm usually not a confrontational person so this was just a lot for me. But long story short, I'm not going to the wedding, this is a definite end to our friendship but I ultimately do feel like it was something that needed to happen as I can now acknowledge that she was basically treating me like a doormat lol. The name blurred out in the last screenshot is my boyfriend's name as I wanted to keep those details private. Due to this new development I'm thinking of going out and getting myself a new piercing. Once again thank you because there's been an overwhelming amount of support from most people and I was not expecting this to turn into as big a deal as it did, smiley face, thank you a lot cowboy hat face cowboy hat face. The text messages. The messages. Me. Hey, just letting you know I won't be going to the engagement party or the wedding. You can find a replacement for me. Friend. I really hope you're joking with me. Because what the fuck? Are you being serious? Me. Yeah I am. We aren't going to find an option we're both happy with so I feel like you finding a new bridesmaid is just the easier way to do it. I'm really not willing to take my piercings out. You don't want someone with piercings in your photos. Just keep me out of the entire thing. Friend, I'm very sorry that I thought my friend wouldn't have a problem removing piercings for my wedding. Do you not realize how insane you're acting? You're going to drop out of my wedding because I asked you to remove some jewelry. Me, you're missing my entire point with this. Friend, are you well? Me, I'm extremely well. Friend, you clearly aren't because you're acting like a psychotic bitch. Me, I have 15 piercings. Do you have any idea how much money it would cost to get all of them pierced again? Unless you're going to offer to pay me for the damage, they aren't coming out. And quite frankly even if you did offer to pay the answer would still be no. I could get scarring, infections and it's just extremely painful getting piercings done again. This is just something I'm not willing to do. Find a replacement. Friend, since when did piercings hold more value over one of your friends? Are you seriously that materialistic? I only made you a bridesmaid because I felt bad for you anyway. Me, you don't have to start insulting me just because someone has said no to you for once in your life. Email. Friend, I'm glad you've shown me what a selfish bitch you are now because I can't even imagine having someone like you at my wedding. Me, I quite honestly could not give a single fuck if you feel bad for me. TBH. Don't start calling me shit just because you're on an ego trip. Genuinely fix whatever the fuck's wrong with you because you're going to drive away every single person in your life eventually if you keep acting this way. I've explained myself over and over again and if you're choosing to not understand where I'm coming from there's nothing I can do about it. You're too self-absorbed to even fathom something that doesn't affect you directly. Friend, you have the audacity to call me absorbed when you aren't showing up to my wedding because I asked you to take out a few piercings. You're a selfish bitch and you know you are actually laughable. Don't want or need someone like you at my wedding. And since you're not coming tell, redacted, he's uninvited too. Ruining the occasion for your boyfriend as well because you're a selfish little girl. Added comments for context. Commenter, I'm sure your boyfriend is crying that he can't go. I mean, I don't know their relationship but I would assume he wouldn't have wanted to go or have gone anyway considering what was going on with you. She's nuts. Reply, he wasn't really happy with the idea of going before any of this stuff happened. Loudly crying face, he was only gonna come with because he didn't want me there on my own. Commenter, I know nothing about piercings. Do you really have to be repierced if you take them out? You're better off without this so-called friend in your life. Reply, it really depends on the person. From my personal experience, I once took my nose ring out for a few hours and it closed. I had to go back and get it re-pierced. My nose ring is really the only piercing I've ever taken out for an extended period other than my earlobes. With earlobes you can pretty much leave them out for however long you want, but overall it really depends on the person. Stories number 24. AIO for asking my partner to leave after he bailed on a family event I asked him to support me at. My 32F partner, 36M, and I have been together for close to a year. We're very compatible, communicate well, have met each other's families, and even have plans to move in together when his lease is up in September. We've talked about a future together and overall things have felt really solid. This weekend, however, has been emotionally heavy for me. My grandmother, with whom I had a very complicated relationship, passed away and her memorial is tomorrow. He already committed to attending the memorial, which I truly appreciate. I've told him how much it means to me, how much I appreciate how his presence is very calming to me, and especially during family things like this because my family dynamic is complicated. Today, my extended family, some I haven't seen in 15 plus years, is having a casual lunch dinner at my parents' house about 30 minutes away. I asked my partner earlier this week to come with me. He initially agreed, although hesitantly, but today he suddenly backed out. No other obligations, he just didn't feel like going and talking to people. I explained how much it would mean to have him there, how much I'd appreciate the support, and how overwhelming these events are for me emotionally. He still declined, saying it didn't matter since he isn't actually needed there, and said he'd just stay at my place until I got back. This follows another recent incident, Friday, where I had to attend a wedding solo while everyone else had their partners. He didn't want to come to that either. And when the convo first happened, I was kind of annoyed, but said whatever and brought a good, male, friend with me instead. But here's the thing. I'm noticing a pattern, unless it's something he wants to do, he doesn't show up for my social events, whether it's for with friends or family. I feel hurt and uncared for and expressed as much. I asked for my house key back and told him to leave. I felt like if he can't show up for me when I'm directly asking for emotional support, that's a red flag and he either doesn't seem to understand that or doesn't care. He said he's sorry and his intention isn't to hurt me. Am I overreacting by asking him to leave over this? Or am I right to want more effort from a partner, especially during emotionally charged times? TLDR, my partner bailed last minute on a family event I asked him to support me at prior to my grandma's memorial. He had no conflict, just didn't feel like going or being social. I felt hurt, asked for my key back, and told him to leave. Am I overreacting? Stories number 25. Aita for telling my biological daughter I was nothing more than an egg donor and that her real mother is the woman who raised her. Sorry this is long, but it's complicated and I really need some perspective. 25 years ago my close friend Clara and her husband James were struggling with infertility. Clara couldn't conceive or use her own eggs. She asked me if I would consider carrying a baby for them to use my egg and James's sperm. I had already had my 2 kids and was done having children. I was hesitant at first but eventually I agreed because I wanted to help my friend become a mother. 9 months later their daughter Bella was born. From the start Clara and James raised her as their own. I've always been auntie to her, just a close family friend, and that's all she ever knew. My own kids always knew the truth. I never hid it from them. They understood that Bella was biologically related to them and that I had helped my friends start a family. I never told Bella anything because I truly didn't feel it was my place. It was something her parents needed to decide if or when to tell her. A few weeks ago Bella and her fiancé were at his family's house and they all did one of those DNA kits for fun. When the results came back Bella saw that she had Cuban and black ancestry, which confused her since she knows both her parents are white. Instead of asking them she used the combination to their safe which she had learned a while back and started going through their personal documents. She found an old photo of me pregnant in a hospital bed with Clara holding my hand, and she also found paperwork about Clara's infertility. After that she started pulling away, especially from Clara, and none of us understood why until everything exploded. My family and I were over at Clara and James's house helping with wedding prep. At one point Clara and I were in the kitchen talking about my kids and Clara mentioned that I had paid for both of their weddings. She wished she could do the same for her daughter. Bella must have overheard because she walked in and suddenly said that I should be paying for her wedding too since she's also my daughter. I was totally thrown off. Clara asked what she meant and Bella just snapped. She said I was her real mother and accused Clara and James of lying to her. She said she had grown up in a fake home while my kids got the life she was supposed to have. She slammed the photo on the table and stormed out with her fiancé. The next day Clara asked me to come over. Bella didn't want to but showed up later after Clara begged her. She told us about the DNA test and going through the safe and how she felt like this answered something she had always felt deep down. She said she's always been jealous of my kids, not just for their vacations or home life but also because I gave them a good life without any hardships. She said she still loves Clara but feels like she never really belonged and now she thinks I'm the missing piece. She even called Clara a child snatcher. That's when I stepped in. I told her she needed to stop talking to Clara like that. She turned to me and said, "You're my real mother, why don't you love me?" I told her as calmly as I could that I was nothing more than an egg donor. I told her I love her like a niece and that's all. Clara is her mother, not me. I wasn't the one who raised her. I wasn't there for her childhood. Clara was. I never saw her as my daughter because that wasn't the role I had in her life. She left again crying and since then has sent me over 20 messages. Some are angry and some are pleading. She's asked me to meet with her and James because she says we're her real parents. She says she loves Clara but insists she's always felt a disconnect and that I'm the reason why. Clara and I have been in touch since the blow-up and we're both heartbroken. My husband thinks I should have a one-on-one with Bella but honestly I feel like there's nothing left to say. I didn't raise her, Clara did. She was always a wonderful mother and up until now she and Bella had a great relationship. I don't know why Bella is spiraling like this. Clara was there for every birthday, every school day, every scraped knee, heartbreak, and milestone. I made peace with my role in Bella's life a long time ago. I never saw myself as her mother, not because I didn't care, but because that was never the agreement. I helped a friend become a mother, and I kept that promise. So Aita Reddit, I am mixed myself. Bella has light skin with incredibly loose curls. From the outside looking in she does look like Clara's biological daughter. Stories number 26. How dare you spend your money? That was mine to use. I, 22F, have been friends with this guy, 21M, let's call him Bob, for 5-ish years. We met in high school. He has always been a bit off. We were friends in high school, but went no contact for a few years, until he offered an apology. What did he apologize for, you ask? Pathological lying, then projecting all the lying onto me. For example, he called my doctor to confirm I had a miscarriage. No, he was not the father. Before you ask, we've only ever been platonic. The doctor told him nothing, due to HIPAA. However, he continued to accuse me of lying, thus the no contact. Keep this gloomy history in mind as I tell you about how entitled this kid is. Note, we are now no contact for good. This post is just for fun. I figured this sub might get a kick out of his sheer audacity. He was forced to move out of his mom's house. He was making, legal in my state, substances under her roof. At the time, underage, unlicensed and unbeknownst to her, until she kicked him out, obviously. This is where his entitlement really started to take the spotlight. I offered him my couch, fold out, for the night. He said no, which is fine, but this will age like milk. He began his rent-free couch hopping journey with friends, then eventually his girlfriend's family. Gradually getting kicked out of every place for overstaying their welcome and borderline squatting. Not paying rent or contributing. Having loud, shameless intercourse and not cleaning up after. Ingesting said, smelly, substances inside the house, refusing to use outside. Attitude, yelling and curating a hostile living situation. I know all this because he stayed with my friend and he told me, warning me of what's to come. See, he would rarely ask, hey man, could I stay for a few nights or anything similar? No, it was wanna chill later. Can I come over to show you something? Are you free for a smoke sesh? On and on. Never anything about staying the night. If any of the above lines worked, he'd show up, chill for a bit, then ask, can I stay the night? Given this is the entitled people subreddit, I doubt I'll need to clarify how that turned into freeloading. On to the title. After being kicked out or evicted from several people's homes, he started to ask me for money. I'm self-employed and my income fluctuates. He knew this. I had a plan to dye my hair. Professionally, I have a lot of hair. I told him about this in passing, before he went off the deep end. He says, you were gonna get your hair done, surely you can spare a 5. Me, yes, but will it just be $5? You know how I feel about men asking me for money. Him, you're loaded, I'm not, please just this one time. So I sent his girl $10, which they swiftly forgot about. Asking for more, I cite my hair appointment, adding I'd like to be able to have grocery and fun money after. About a month later, my hair has been done, so I'm feeling myself, and posting pictures. He says, so you were able to dye your hair, turns out you weren't broke. I tell him, yes, this is my money, I can do what I want with it. Him, when have you ever done anything for me? Me, when, partner, and I took you to, city, with us? And paid for your museum ticket? No questions asked. Maybe then. He just left me unopened. He then texts me the next day asking to chill. I reply, keeping in mind the warning from my friend, no, you cannot stay at my house. He proceeds to go on and on about how I've never done anything for him, how I'm letting him be homeless, blah blah blah. I blocked him, haven't heard from him or the girlfriend since, although I hope she finds someone better. Edit. I don't like sending deadbeat men money because of my father. He'd ask 6 me for it, and out of fear, missing him, and other forms of manipulation, I'd give it to him. Bob knew this. So the people accusing me of sexism can pipe down. To those accusing me of using AI to write this, you're free to copy-paste it into an AI detector. I wrote the first half of this post on my phone and the second on my laptop. That's why there are small formatting inconsistencies. Even so, doesn't that prove it wasn't written by AI? If you don't like how I talk, or the length of this post, you can simply scroll. But to the majority whose comments were normal or chill, thank you so much for the love. Your similar stories are oddly comforting. Even though I know I'm not in the wrong at all, I still catch myself feeling bad, but I always snap out of it. The stories y'all shared in these comments made me realize I only feel bad because we have history. Before I blocked him, Bob mentioned that he didn't like me gossiping about him to others. AKA, hey, don't let Bob stay at your house, he's doing XYZ. I obviously used a fake name and left out identifying details. But I'd be lying if I said I hope he doesn't find this post. Similar to giving men money, I also don't like men telling me what to say or do. Lastly, I didn't share this story out of spite, more a vent after I was reminded of this subreddit's existence. Thanks again for the support. Stories number 27. To fool by setting my Wi-Fi hotspot to bomb detonator. Title says most of it. I was at a tech conference today. I like to broadcast random Wi-Fi hotspot names to mess with people, and after the recent story about the Planet Fitness I thought it would go over well as a joke. I mean, who hasn't seen FBI surveillance van as a network? Holy fuck. Do not do this. Cops got called. I got to spend about 45 minutes chatting with them. They asked a lot of questions. They had to make sure I'm not a threat. I cooperated fully. I have no doubt being a white guy at a nerd gathering probably helped. I was told I wasn't being charged. I was, however, told to leave by the venue and not come back. Flash forward 2 hours and I go to log into my work email on my phone. Password failed. Again. Okay, let's not fat finger this and lock the account. Pull out the laptop, remote into my work PC. Go to log in. Your account has been disabled. Contact your system's administrator. 20 minutes later I get the text message. You are being placed on paid administrative leave effective today 5/23 while the agency investigates today's events surrounding you being removed from the venue. You are not to complete any work, access agency networks or report to the office during your leave. We will contact you when the investigation is complete. TLDR, immature joke kills career, film at 11. Edit. Thank you for the influx of comments and messages. Most of you are right, I am a fucking idiot. One doesn't come to or to full to brag about the good shit they've done. No matter what you say, I'm trying to keep up. You're helping me cope. Update. Slightly longer version. I received my termination letter and personal effects by registered mail and was provided a certified letter envelope to return company property with, which I have already sent out. The essence of the letter was, you're being terminated because of that screw up. Here's the part of the company manual that told you not to do something like that. Give us our stuff back or get no last paycheck. So let's get the basics out of the way. I have, from the beginning, accepted that this is wholly my fault. I meant it in jest. I thought I was so obviously past the line of Poe's law that I would simply give the other guests a humorous story to tell. It's a running joke to have Wi-Fi with something like FBI surveillance van. I wanted only that. Something for the other guests to chuckle over. Be careful what you wish for, you dumb shit. What do they say about hindsight? Half of the world knows this story now. We'll get to that in a minute. I wanted my post to serve as a warning to others. I received several notes from people who had considered doing the same or similar, with one guy even planning it for the next day, and stopped because of my post. That is enough. Yes, we've already agreed I'm a screw-up, or some variation, so let's skip that this time. I'd say take it back to the previous post, but that got locked. I mean, seriously, I just pissed away a 9-year career and the world saw it happen. Again, we'll get to that. To the one guy who wished I'd get AIDS, you gotta put some work into it, dude. Haha, I hope you get AIDS, is not enough. You have to wish, at the very least, that I pick up a heroin addiction and get AIDS in a hobo camp. Creativity. Seriously, kids these days, I'm pretty much begging, please do not turn this into another episode of Reddit Solves Mysteries. A lot of things were said in the previous post that will allow you to infer a fair amount. Yes, it was public sector. Please leave it at that. I have already shamed my employer within its own circles. There is no good reason to publicly shame them by linking them to me. I have not represented them or their values with my behavior. Please don't dox me. Thank you. A lot of you expressed concern for my well-being, some long after the thread was locked. I appreciate that more than you will ever know. You helped me get through when my support system, conveniently yes, happened to be at its lowest, and it was a true pleasure to see the orange icon every time. Now, about that half of the world crack. There's fucking up. There's really fucking up. There's fucking up in public. And then, there's third place on the bloody front page. What in the People's Republic of Hell is going on around here? I was only expecting a dozen upvotes, 5 comments of haha, what a moron. And maybe one supportive comment that got downvoted past the threshold. Somehow I ended up on Facebook feeds of people in New Zealand, and one of my friends from Seattle heard his coworkers talking about it. I had 2 former coworkers from years back text message me out of nowhere to get more details. There's something darkly humorous and possibly ironic that the biggest mistake in my adult life practically turned into a meme. I'm unemployed, why don't I make it for you? So now it's on to processing this, filing for unemployment, if I'm even eligible, touching up my resume and cover letters, and starting to rebuild. Don't even get me started on the insurance debacle to come. I'd say this is the last update, but if I get a positive reaction from a future employer about this story, I'll let you know. TLDR, my, now former, employer terminated me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Yep, you're right. I worked with him. Let's just say you guys are getting 1/10 the story. He didn't go calmly or quietly. It was a high-profile cybersecurity conference for the entire state, and a total embarrassment. He was an utter train wreck of mental illness who picked fights with people constantly, total creep, too. Exactly how you'd expect a 40-year-old edgelord with rage issues to look and act. Dude has been blacklisted at every state agency he's worked at, but it's always someone else's fault. I heard he got a Fed job about 1 year later. Never underestimate the power of the gossipy and professionally incestuous state IT workforce. LinkedIn and Reddit, they use them like old people use Facebook. Final update. I have delayed posting a final update because I wanted to get to a point where there felt like an ending to the story. That keeps not being the case, and I've received enough messages from people asking how I'm doing or how things played out, so here it is. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me and asked how I was doing. I know some of you truly care and some of you just wanted the details on how things ended. I'm sure you'll understand why I didn't respond. 6 months after losing the job in my previous posts, I got another job. A month into my employment, I grew confrontational with a security guard and lost that job too. I was then forced to work as a line cook at a local diner through the Thanksgiving and Christmas seasons. Without the financial support of someone I served in the military with, the whole story would have ended in a divorce and/or a suicide. Instead, my spouse and I sold our house and moved in with our new roommate in another state. I burned this account because my former coworkers discovered or were told about my posts. I did not say my goodbyes to most of my former coworkers or my friends. I completely ghosted one coworker who wanted to have lunch. I felt like I was going into exile. I still feel like I did. Shortly after arriving here, I finally had the breakdown that everyone saw coming, and I had to turn myself into the ER for suicidal ideations. They sent me to a mental health care facility where I stayed for the next month. Then I went into a year of dialectical behavioral therapy with the local Veterans Affairs. What followed was a short period of working in a grocery store, some vocational rehabilitation from the VA, and then a short term as a contractor for a local hospital. While I was working that job, my current job fell into my lap. It was an opportunity to take on more responsibility than I ever had, but also a chance to redeem myself. I took it without hesitation. It has not been easy and I struggle with my responsibilities. This month will mark my 1-year anniversary with my current employers. During this period there have been a lot of medication changes. There has been a 6-month period where I didn't sleep properly or at all and almost lost my marriage again due to my behavior. I went back into a mental health care facility for a week. I'm currently dealing with physical health issues that take time to clear up and slow my mental health progress. Emotionally, I never fully recovered. I have panic attacks, insomnia, suicidal ideations, and need medication and constant therapy to keep moving forward. I call the Veterans Crisis Line regularly. Many people have wondered how I could do the things I did, how my life ended up like this. The truth is that I had untreated complex PTSD, untreated ADHD, and undiagnosed borderline personality disorder. I was on a strong dose of an antipsychotic medication for insomnia. I was, literally, a ticking time bomb, and I had been for years if not decades. Once I lost the first job, the pin was out of the grenade and I spiraled. When I lost the second job I spiraled even faster. It was only the impending sale of the house and the move that kept me together at all, and barely at that. We all have problems, some of us more so than others. If someone in your life expresses concern about your behavior or your worldviews, take that as an indicator that maybe something needs to be looked at. It's possible that there is something wrong that needs to be addressed. I didn't listen when people told me I was too angry. I didn't listen when people said they were afraid of me. How could they be? I still saw myself as the scrawny kid who got the shit kicked out of him in school. I was afraid of the world. How could they be afraid of me? I don't have a happy ending for you, as my life is still a struggle to keep my issues from being everyone else's problem. I am less prone to outbursts and I reel myself in quicker, but I'm not where I feel you need to be in order to be called a functioning adult in society. This isn't the end for me. I am still fighting to survive, but I am my own worst enemy and it will take years to get to a place where I feel like this saga is over and I've truly recovered. TLDR, lost another job, moved to another state, still rebuilding my life. Mental health issues suck. Get diagnosed and get help. Stories number 28. Aita for wanting my parents to pay me the money back that my brother stole from me. My brother, 14, has been stealing cash from my bedroom for almost 2 years now. I rarely have cash, but when I do I either put it in my desk or in my wallet. I used to just leave it out, but then some of it, or all of it, would randomly disappear and I would get in trouble for losing it even though I knew it wasn't me. So about a year ago I asked my brother if he really did steal from me the one time almost 2 years ago now, and he laughed and confirmed that he did. I still have not got that money back and probably never will, because I'm pretty forgetful. I always leave my wallet in my purse, which is always in my room. I've tried to hide it from him before, but then I end up just forgetting about it myself, so I went back to just leaving it in my purse. In the last 3 months since I've been home from uni he's stolen over $150 from my wallet, as well as earbuds and full cans of alcohol that I left in the fridge. I'm broke and trying to save money for school, so I work hard for the money I make. Any money or anything that I buy myself is pretty important to me no matter what it is. My parents say it's my fault because I should be hiding my stuff better, but it's frustrating to have to hide my own things in my own room. I want to ask them if they could pay me back all the money that he's taken, even though it's not their fault, but every dollar counts for my savings. What I should do. Edit. For the people asking why I don't have a bank account, I do have one, but there are times where I do odd jobs, get paid in cash and then just don't have the time to go put it in the bank quickly enough, before he takes it. Stories number 29. I, 25M, was in a car wreck with my 22F GF. My GF and I have been dating for 2 years. We were driving together after ordering pizza to pick it up. She came with because she needed something quick from the store right next door. I go in and pay for the pizza and get back in the car and wait. 30 minutes go by and I finally see her at the checkout line and she's chatting with our neighbor, who lives right next door to us. They let a couple more people go ahead of them as they finish up talking, a good 15 minutes longer. She comes out and throws bags into the back of the car and goes to get in. Says oops, I forgot to get what I originally needed. Be right back. I was mad. I was extremely pissed off. She comes back much faster and I yell at her. I was angry and I went off. The lack of respect. Stupid cold pizza. She said it was her medication she had to run back in for and why it couldn't wait and she had to go. I said she could have talked to the neighbors back at the fucking house. She said she didn't think she took that long. I was done. I regret I drove angry. I should have let her drive. She even offered to, but I was too angry to think straight. I was speeding, weaving around traffic. It started raining and I hit a slick spot and lost control and we hit a tree. I walked away with a few cuts, a bruised rib, and black eyes from the airbag. She has a broken nose as well as everything else I do, plus I broke her arm. I'm sorry I did it. I didn't mean to. I'm stupid. Mad because of cold pizza. I hardly ever get angry. It was a bad week at the office. Owing money I don't have. The car making a weird sound. It's so much, and I snapped. It's not going to ever happen again. I don't even trust myself to drive since the accident. I panic thinking about it. I haven't called or seen her or messaged her once since the accident 2 weeks ago. I can't face her. I'm so ashamed. I've not replied to her messages or returned her calls. I'm staying at a friend of mine's place. I don't even know what I could say. It's too much. I can't even process all of this. I feel so much guilt. I broke my GF's nose and her arm because I was angry. I'm no better than an abuser. I don't know how to handle any of this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, yeah, the way you went about that was childish and uncalled for. Talk to her and tell her how you feel. Don't ignore her after you just broke her nose and arm. WTF. She wants to talk to you. You should feel lucky she's even still giving you the time of day. If it were me, you'd be long gone. Reply, I know I'm acting like a worse idiot by staying away. I just picture her crying, all bruised and in a cast. And I can't do it. It's so vivid. I want to so bad, I just can't. Commenter 2, you're going to handle it by returning her calls and assuring her that you will call your car insurance, pay the deductible for her medical bills, or if you don't have full coverage insurance, the full cost of her plastic surgery and broken arm since you were entirely in the wrong. I hope, for your sake, that she's insured. Stop blaming the pizza. Stop blaming her. This is entirely your fault. Reply, I do have full coverage, the car wasn't even all paid off yet, and I'll somehow make sure she sees only the top doctors. I am the guilty one here. Commenter 2, I'm really glad to hear you take responsibility for the accident and super glad that you have full coverage. She was taken from the accident in an ambulance. Reply, yeah. Because of the broken nose and blood they weren't sure if there was any brain damage, so we ended up at different hospitals. I've had a friend fill me in with updates on her and there wasn't any damage to her head. Just cuts, some of which needed stitches. Commenter 3, the fact you spent half the post talking about irrelevant stuff, whatever happened at the pizza place isn't a reason for you driving like a maniac, is indicative of a bigger problem. You're not, even in writing this post, taking full responsibility for what happened, especially by writing stuff like stupid cold pizza and lack of respect. Get some anger management therapy because my god, you have the temper of a toddler if cold pizza and waiting 30 minutes sets you off like that. Commenter 4, as a dad, I would like to take it easy on you and be nice. F that. If that was my child I would be mad as hell. Grow up, own up to what you did. You did this and now it's on you to own your ass up. Go to the house she is at with a bunch of flowers and apologize for the shit you were. Then get your ass to talking to her. I mean in person, not this bullshit I called her. No, show your face and do it. It will be tough as hell, but at least it will show her and her family you have some balls and some caring. Do not deflect anything or allow her to bundle some it was you. Then put some perspective in your life. Car was working, not the best. Until you had a short circuit and put your life on dumbass mode for a ride. Now you have nothing, so think about that. You owed money, buying a home is also owing a F-ton of money and you have to think about that if you go in that direction. So again, a loan and some side gig would have helped. Now you are further in the hole due to your short circuit. You did this to yourself. If you don't trust yourself on your anger issues, maybe it's because you are young. Go to the gym, or take some martial art classes, or go to a boxing gym. Get that poison out of your veins. Also seek some mental health. If you are going to snap and hurt someone, you really need some help. Usually I would say peace, but you need help. Go and get it. Update. Recap. 3 weeks ago my GF and I went to pick up pizza. She went in a store to buy some things and ended up taking a long time. I sat in the car until the pizza went cold. Then, like an idiot, I got angry and yelled and drove ignoring her offering to drive. I ended up crashing and I was barely hurt while she broke her nose, arm, and cracked ribs. We went to different hospitals because they were worried about head trauma, but she's okay in that regard. It was cuts on her head that needed stitches, but no brain damage at all. For 2 weeks after the accident I didn't contact her or return her texts or calls. Then I made a post here for advice. I texted her. I know people said I needed to go in person, but I was afraid to do that and didn't know if she'd even want to see me. She said we needed to talk and bring car insurance info and all of that. She's staying with her parents and her dad stopped me at the door. He took my insurance and license and made copies, I guess. He came back and said she wanted to talk with me outside and to wait. I cried when I saw her all beat up looking and hurt. She didn't cry though. She asked me why I stayed away and abandoned her. I said how I was ashamed. She said I had more to be ashamed of now, and she's right. She said she can never trust or rely on me after this. That she knows I'd leave her when she needed me. How could she be with me or start a family with someone who abandons someone they supposedly love when they're hurt? Everything she said made sense and it all hurt because it's true. We aren't together anymore. I didn't even try to change her mind. She's right. She deserves better than me. I don't know what I'll do. I hate myself and who I let myself become. I don't know what all is next for me, but everything is hell. Edit. I am sorry this came off as a pity party, it probably is. What I've done feels irredeemable. I was faced with a real-life moment of integrity of character and found I have none. I don't know where and how to start because everything about me is worthless. I know leaving my ex-GF alone is the right thing. Even if there was an impossible chance of her taking me back, it still wouldn't happen. I can't stand to be alone with myself, no one should be around me. I don't trust who I am. The best thing I'm doing right now in this moment is staying away from her and letting her heal. There's nothing I can do to make it better. Give flowers. I'm sorry I almost killed you, so I killed these plants so you can watch them slowly decay. Nothing feels enough to make it right, I'm convinced there isn't a way. If they sue me, they sue me. She has every right. Right now my car insurance is covering everything for her. I know I need therapy, but it's not that easy. Time, money, and trying to even find a therapist taking new patients is limited. I don't blame anyone for their harsh words, I know I'm a terrible person. If my posts and comments sound pitiful, it's because that's what I am. I'm weak. Comments. Downvoted commenter, you are going the wrong way with this. As one of the people who responded to you, I am glad you wrote a follow-up. It's your first step to knowing what not to do in the future. Run, hide, go, no contact. All of those steps were the wrong way. What the right steps are for the future: accepts, face-to-face, and talks to those involved. In other words, you are on the floor to become something better. Which I hope. Your pain will subside, your steps should you learn will be stronger and you will be a better person. I am happy that you had the courage to see her face-to-face. Now grow from this and become better. Peace. Reply. I'll reply to you, most everyone else seems to hate me. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to just show up like you said. I know I was wrong hiding for 2 weeks like a coward. The first few days were shock. Then I felt she was better off if I stayed away. The days rolled into the next and reaching out to her got harder and harder. My original post and your reply and those of others got me to cross that first hurdle. I will continue to take steps to try and improve, but I am struggling with guilt and these steps are hard. Commenter 2, sorry. You don't get to have your I hate myself pity party. You had all the balls in the world to roid out and almost kill you both over cold pizza and normal life annoyances. But then none to own up to it. Real fucking tough guy you are. You caused this and then went, oh wow, what a mess I made. But hey, everything is fine in my world, I'm not hurt and she's with her dad, so I don't need to deal with her. Respectfully, FUCK. Now you're going to wah about how you don't know what's next, everything is hell. Well, figure it the fuck out. Start with not expecting everyone to wipe your ass for you, maybe offer to pay for expenses and lost work for your ex, get some therapy. That sounds like a good start. Actions speak. Not whining on Reddit in self-pity. That just says more of the same. Commenter 3, you're still focusing on yourself and how you feel. You drove dangerously because of how you felt, anger, was more important to you than other people's safety. You abandoned her after the accident because how you felt, shame, was more important to you than her well-being. You're saying you don't know what comes next for you because how you feel, self-hate, is more important to you than taking steps to change into a man who doesn't hurt others out of selfishness. You need to get your head out of your arse, mate, and step up. Focus on how you're going to work to pay your victims' hospital bills. How you're going to take responsibility. How you're going to enroll in anger management classes so you can control yourself in future. Stories number 30. I married a guy 12 years older than me and regret it deeply. I, 27F, met this man, 39M, when I was 21 years old and he was 33 and freshly divorced. I had always been the girl who liked older men, but I didn't consider how much this age gap would affect me down the road. Looking back, there were so many red flags I couldn't see past my rose-colored glasses. He was extremely charming and charismatic, fucked good, and took care of me in ways no other guy I'd been with had. I was also in a deeply chaotic and unstable period in my life, and his maturity and roundedness deeply appealed to me. I know people are going to shit on me, but I have to write all this out. He has 2 kids, 10 and 16, that he splits custody with his ex 50-50. I'm technically closer in age to his son than I am to him. I know some people will assume I got with him because he had money or paid all my bills, but he was broke and only just this past month got a big boy job with a salary and benefits. As I write this, I feel so embarrassed to admit I let myself marry a man-child who, when I met him, only hung with people much younger than him, early 20s, and even had a weird, deeply questionable hookup with a 19-year-old girl where she claimed he got her drunk and took advantage of her right before we met. He claimed it was consensual, but my thing is, why would a 30-plus-year-old man be drinking with a 19-years-old? It's like, I didn't fully understand how fucked this all was until my frontal lobe finished developing when I was 25 and I'd matured myself, and suddenly my eyes opened and I realized he isn't who I thought he was. He isn't a bad man or physically abusive, but he is deeply codependent, suffocates me, and needs to be babied 24/7. His mom still treats him like a baby, and I even feel like marrying him wasn't entirely my choice because his deeply religious family basically coerced us to marry, so we weren't living in sin, exact quote, anymore. I feel like he's siphoning my life force and like I wasted my 20s. It's not so much grass is greener as it is air is breathable at this point. ETA, we dated, read, FWB, without any form of commitment, despite being in love, for the first 2-3 years, and married when I was 24. We do not have bio kids. When I was 21 I thought he was more mature than he really was. He hid this very well the first few years we were together. He played games with me, and only gets his shit together when I'm about to walk and free myself. He is emotionally manipulative, and that's what's kept me this far. I'm not shitting on guys who date younger women, I'm shitting on my own personal situation, so please chill with the comments as though you personally are my so. Y'all are jumping to so many damn conclusions. Stories number 31. Aita for telling my sister I won't be her gay accessory at her wedding after she uninvited my boyfriend. I, 19M, have been out to my family for a few years. It hasn't been the easiest, but we've settled into a mostly don't ask, don't tell kind of peace, which sucks, but it's better than fighting. My older sister, Megan, 25F, is getting married in a few months, and I've been genuinely trying to be the best little brother ever. I've spent weekends helping her with DIY decorations, running errands, and listening to her vent about everything from the catering to the flowers. All along, she's known that I have a boyfriend, Alex, 19M. We've been together for over a year, he's my first serious relationship, and he's my whole world. Megan had told me from the start that of course Alex would be my plus one. I was so excited to finally bring him to a big family event and have him officially meet everyone. Well, last night Megan called me, sounding super stressed. One of her bridesmaids had to drop out for personal reasons. Then she got this really excited tone in her voice and said, I have the perfect solution. You can be my bridesman. You'd look so cute in a tux, and it would be so modern and cool. I was honestly flattered and said I'd love to. Then I asked, so, where will Alex sit during the ceremony since I'll be standing up front? There was a long pause. Then Megan said, oh. Well, about that. It doesn't really work for a bridesman to have a date walking in. And besides, we're so over budget, we're having to cut all non-essential guests. Since he's not family, we just can't accommodate him anymore. I was confused. I asked her, are the other bridesmaids' boyfriends and husbands uninvited too? She said, of course not, that's different. It would just look weird and unbalanced for you to be in the party and have a boyfriend there. People will be confused. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. After everything, Alex was being reduced to not essential and a source of confusion. I told her, so my relationship is less valid than theirs. You just want me to stand up there and be your gay accessory, but you don't want the actual, gay, part of my life to be visible. She completely lost it. She said I was being dramatic, selfish, and trying to make her wedding all about my sexuality. She said it was just one day and I should do this for my family. I told her that if my family doesn't include Alex, then it doesn't include me either. I said I wouldn't be her prop, and since my partner wasn't welcome, then I wouldn't be coming to the wedding at all. Now, my parents are calling me non-stop, telling me I've broken my sister's heart and that I'm tearing the family apart over nothing. My dad said I need to learn that sometimes you have to make small sacrifices for the people you love. But this doesn't feel like a small sacrifice. It feels like being told that my love is conditional and only acceptable when it's convenient for them. Aita for refusing to go to my sister's wedding. Stories number 32. AIO for crying at my engagement dinner because my fiancé proposed again in front of his ex. I, 27F, got engaged last month to my fiancé, 29M, and it was really special, just the two of us, very quiet and meaningful. This weekend, his family threw us a little celebration dinner at his parents' house. Everything was going fine until his ex-girlfriend, 28F, walked in. I was confused. Apparently, she's still close with his family, and he didn't want to exclude her. Fine. Weird, but fine. Then his dad stands up to give a toast, and suddenly my fiancé gets down on one knee again and says something like, for everyone who couldn't see it the first time, here's how it went. He pulls out a fake ring, and the room laughs while I just sit there, completely blindsided. His ex claps loudly and says, ah, you finally got it right. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried. I didn't want to make a scene, but I couldn't hide how hurt I was. Later that night, he called me sensitive and said it was just for fun, and now even his mom says I spoiled the vibe. Was I overreacting? Stories number 33. Am I wrong for feeling hurt and out of place after this conversation with coworkers? I need to share something that's been bothering me, and I'd really appreciate your honest thoughts. I'm not looking for sympathy or validation, I just want to understand if my feelings are fair or if I'm being too sensitive. For context, I'm a Muslim woman who wears the hijab and dresses modestly. After work one day, I was walking with 3 coworkers, 2 men and 1 woman, on the way to the train station. We usually get along well, they're nice, funny, and I enjoy spending time with them. But something happened that made me feel really out of place. One of the guys said he wanted to ask me a personal question. He asked, do you take your hijab off when you get home? I said yes, of course I do, I change clothes and get comfortable like anyone else. Then he said, I don't think I could ever wear that, referring to my outfit. I kind of joked and said, well, I don't shower in it either if you was wondering. But then he continued and asked, isn't it weird that men don't have to wear it? Then added something like, I just think it's strange when women are oppressed by men. I didn't know how to respond. I was tired after work and didn't feel like debating or defending my beliefs, especially since I don't always feel confident or articulate enough to explain everything about my faith. Then he said, I used to be religious too. I was Christian until I was 18, and then I realized religion is bullshit. That hit me hard. Not because I expect people to be religious, but because it felt like he was openly dismissing something deeply meaningful to me and doing it right to my face, in front of others. To try to defuse the tension, I joked and said, well, the only person I'm oppressed by is you. I meant it playfully, as a way to shift the mood and avoid direct confrontation. But instead of laughing or moving on, he replied, okay, don't answer my question then, clearly annoyed that I hadn't responded seriously to his previous point about men and hijab. I stayed quiet for the rest of the train ride. I didn't want to start anything, but I also couldn't shake the uncomfortable feeling. It felt like I had been turned into a you instead of part of the we. Like there was an invisible line drawn, and I was suddenly on the outside of it. And maybe this goes deeper. I often feel like I don't fully belong anywhere, not entirely part of one cultural group or the other, just somewhere in between. And when moments like this happen, that feeling gets so much louder. I didn't want to make it a big deal, but I ended up feeling small, excluded, and unsure of whether I even had the right to feel that way. I've always tried to be respectful of everyone's differences. I truly believe that as long as we can respect each other, I don't care what someone else believes in or doesn't believe in. I don't try to push my views on others, and I don't expect people to live like me, just mutual respect. I don't really have close friends, so the fact that I've been genuinely having fun with these coworkers lately meant a lot to me. That's probably why this affected me so much. I don't know, maybe I just hoped I had found people I could feel fully comfortable around. But in that moment, I just felt completely on the outside. Update. So today was the first time I saw my coworker since the incident I wrote about in that post. On the way to work, he passed by me and another girl. He said good morning, and she replied. Since he was closer to her and not to me, I didn't say anything. At work, he looked at me. He usually smiles, but this time he didn't, he just said something like, hi, and I replied. Since then, we haven't spoken to each other. We usually make small talk or smile at each other, but I tried to avoid him today. Now that I've had some time to reflect, I think he was trying to be the rescuer, like he wanted to save me from oppression that I'm not even experiencing. He probably imagines I live like the stereotypical Muslim woman portrayed in TV shows, oppressed and unable to speak up. But that's not my reality at all. I have a job, a salary, I live in my own apartment, and I can do whatever I want. I chose my religion and my hijab for myself. Anyway, the atmosphere between us has been tense. Even if he didn't mean harm, I still feel like he was disrespectful when he told me that religion is bullshit, and that he could never dress the way I do. Should I talk to him about all this, or wait for him to take that step? Or should I just leave things as awkward as they are now? We used to get along well, and he would always help me out at work when I needed it. I just find it sad that he chose to speak to me in such a condescending way. Stories number 34. My coworker asked me to cover a shift last minute, then texted me during my PTO. What do I do? I, 28F, planned a week off work to visit my sibling after we both had busy schedules for months. I gave my manager and team plenty of notice, swapped shifts to make sure everything was covered while I'm away, and even set up an out-of-office message. Fast forward to yesterday, a coworker hits me up asking if I can cover their shift tomorrow. I politely say I'm out of office and can't, but add that if it's urgent I could ask the manager to reassign it. They respond with, ugh, seriously? I really needed you. I thought you'd help. Then today, I get a group text titled, PTO cover, from them, not me. Now I'm looking at muted notifications and avoiding Slack threads. I don't want to seem like a jerk, but they knew I was off and didn't plan ahead. I'm on my first day of vacation and already feel guilty for saying no. What do I do? Stick to my boundary, or circle back and rearrange something last minute even though I already planned this trip? Stories number 35. Long-term BF is a groomsman, but I'm not invited to the wedding. I might be overly sensitive, I'm very aware and not totally sure if this is the right sub, but my 25F, long-term/live-in BF, 26M, is a groomsman in an upcoming October wedding. BF is primarily friends with the bride and was almost a male bridesmaid before being moved over to the groom's side. I wasn't invited to the wedding, BF didn't even get a +1, nor was my name on the invitation sent to our shared home. The couple lives about 7 hours from us, so BF does not see them as much as he'd like, but in the 2 years we've been dating, they've stayed with us, we've stayed with them for visits. I know them, maybe not super well, but at least well enough to be invited to stay in their home. Important to add, I wasn't invited to the engagement party, they had this in October 2023, but that's fine, BF and I were still very new to dating, I understand that. Recently the bride and groom came down for the bridal party, venue and her parents live 30 minutes from BF and I. I wasn't invited to the bridal shower either, despite the couple staying with us for the nights they were in town and despite that my BF was invited to the bridal shower and attended without me. I'm not invited to the wedding and I feel hurt. My BF wants to reach out and confirm that I'm truly not invited, but I'm not sure it's worth it. He thinks it might be ignorance on their part, that, of course you'd be invited, they must have just put my name with the assumption you'd come with. IMO, it's their wedding and they can choose to not invite whoever they'd like, but it does make me sad. I do know some couples are, no ring, no bring, but we live together and I've met the couple. So do we do a reach out? ETA, lots of comments very quickly, I do appreciate them, even if a bit overwhelming. I don't want to make it about me, I do need to stick up for myself. I thought maybe the bridal shower was more intimate, but since they stayed with us, it upsets me thinking about it. During that time, I went out with friends and generally kept myself occupied. Moving forward, I have to start speaking up. ETA, 4 people asking about the relationship, college friend starting their freshman year, then by senior she was the sweetheart of the frat he was president of. Stories number 36. My sister told me some awful things our mom said. Advice received. My, 19F, little sister, 10F, and I were getting ready for bedtime when she walked up to me and told me some horrible things my mom said to her. I'm not sure what to do about it or what to believe. For context, we're half siblings, her dad, let's call him Kyle, and our mom just recently got divorced after a terrible 12-year physically and mentally abusive marriage. He nearly killed my mom and has hurt my sister on multiple occasions. Now that he's gone, sis has really started acting up, throwing tantrums, crying, hyperventilating, due to PTSD triggers. So, a few days ago, sis was throwing one of these fits, and our mom flipped out. I hate the sound of yelling due to my own PTSD from the situation, so I went outside until everyone went to bed. It's been a few days since then, and as I was putting sis to bed tonight, we had this conversation. Sis, do you remember when I got in trouble a few days ago? And then my lip was all swollen. Me, yeah, what happened? Sis dash, mama pushed my face so hard into the bed that I could barely breathe. It hurt my nose. Me dash, did she do anything else? Sis, now crying, dash, she said I had to go live with daddy. And during the court hearing I would have to write a letter saying that I wanted to live with him, me dash, did she say anything else? Sis dash, I told her that he would kill me, and she said that he probably would. At that point I stopped asking questions and just hugged her. That was just heartbreaking to hear. I told her I was sorry that happened. She let me know that a lot of things like this get said to her when I'm not here. But now what do I do? She's been known to exaggerate things before, but the way she was reacting to it seemed genuine. Do I confront our mom? Stories number 37. Friend brings random guys in hotel room. It's now Saturday and this was all Wednesday, and I've already talked to some people about it, mom, BF, and another friend. For context, my friend, F18, invited me, F18, to go out with her for a girls' trip, and I was so down because we've been talking about doing this since we recently graduated this year. We booked this really nice hotel and it was fun for the first few days. One day she decided to go out and she wanted me to come with, and of course I said yes because I didn't want her to be alone and I also just wanted to accompany her. She then made friends with these guys who I could tell of the bat were a lot older than us. She met them outside of a bar or club, not really sure. Fast forward, she started bringing them up to our hotel room and I talked to her about it, to which she said, okay, and it was just that. Until I started coming out the bathroom to the same dudes having around in our room. Or waking up from a nap to hearing them all talk. I called my mom to pick me up early because I just wasn't about to put up with it anymore. My friend told me to just leave then because I was killing the mood, but I had told my mom about what was going on and my mom told my friend's mom, so she had to leave too. She called me after I had got home to call me a fake friend for ruining her fun. I understand that she's upset with me, but I was genuinely worried about both of our safety. Those friends of hers weren't really friends and I feel like I did the both of us, mostly my friend, a big favor by getting us out of there early. I guess I'm kinda stressed a bit because she won't really talk to me. I haven't been pushing her to, but I wish we would properly talk tbh. I know we're still young and learning, but maybe anyone can help me figure out if I'm in the wrong for deciding to leave early and ruining her fun. Update. It's only been like 50-something minutes since I posted this, but here's the quickest update I've ever done. We aren't friends anymore. Talking to her was pretty much like talking to a wall. I do wish her the best, and hope she doesn't continue to do things like this later in life as well. Thanks to everyone to made me feel like I wasn't crazy for how I felt. That's all the update I have to give. Stories number 38. We have a Karen nurse in our hospital unit and it's becoming a patient safety issue. I work in a medium-sized hospital in the surgical ward, and we unfortunately have what I can only describe as a full-blown Karen nurse on our team. Let's call her Nancy. She's been here longer than most of us, about 11 years, and acts like she owns the whole damn ward. Where do I even begin? She refuses to take orders from doctors younger than her, especially female ones. She once laughed in the face of a new resident and told her, "Sweetie, I've been doing this longer than you've been out of diapers." That doctor walked away red-faced, and I had to reassure her that we're not all like Nancy. Nancy also believes that patients are too soft nowadays, especially the elderly ones. She constantly complains when they press the call button too much, and has even ignored bed alarms just because Mr. Reyes is just being needy again. I once caught her rolling her eyes at a dementia patient who was having an episode and whispering, "This is why I hate this floor." She's racist in that weird, coded way. She'll call black patients aggressive even if they're just frustrated or asking questions. She avoids taking Spanish-speaking patients and refers to them as the ones who don't speak proper English. The worst part? She once said in the break room, "I only give 100% to the ones who are grateful. Not my fault if the others don't get the same care." Let's not forget how she treats her coworkers. She hoards supplies in her locker and accuses others of stealing her gauze. She openly criticizes new nurses in front of patients and families, making sarcastic remarks like, "Wow, bold choice leaving the side rails down. Guess some of us skipped that day in nursing school." She never washes her hands properly. I've seen her do a literal 2-second splash and walk out. When we remind her about infection protocols, she snaps with, "I've been doing this job longer than the CDC's been writing guidelines." She's anti-vax, ironically. She got the hospital exemption for the COVID vaccine and loudly talks about how essential oils and zinc keep her healthy. She once told a patient's daughter not to vaccinate her kids while in uniform. And she weaponizes HR anytime she gets called out for anything. She runs to HR claiming harassment or ageism. She's like Teflon, nothing sticks. But it's getting dangerous. Nurses are requesting to switch shifts just to avoid working with her. Patients complain, but admin brushes it off because she has seniority and good reviews. We've reported her, but HR basically says she's hard to terminate because of all the technicalities, her long employment history, and the fact that she has a solid reputation with some of the older bosses who still vouch for her. It's frustrating, because nothing changes. I'm so exhausted dealing with her toxic energy. She's not just a pain, she's a liability. We're literally risking patients' health because one senior nurse is too arrogant to change or be held accountable. Anyone ever dealt with a coworker like this in healthcare? Did reporting help, or did it backfire? Stories number 39. Aita for considering divorce years after my wife publicly humiliated me. My wife, 31F, and I, 32M, have been married for 4 years, together for 10. 3 years ago, she gave birth to our first baby. It was one of the happiest moments of my life, but right after the birth she really started to struggle mentally. She went through postpartum depression, and during that time she changed. She resented me a lot. She made comments about my size, "I'm 6 feet 4 inches, but, yeah, I'm small down there." I tried to persevere through the insults because I knew she was going through some form of PPD, but over time her insults really got to me. I guess my breaking point came during a small get-together. My sister and my close childhood friend, who's like my second sister, were over for dinner. In the middle of casual conversation, my wife made a crude joke about my size in front of them. It was sort of awkward, and I don't think I've ever felt more humiliated in life than at that moment. When they left, I went to our room and just cried. I hadn't cried like that since I was in middle school. I think seeing me like that finally hit her. The next day she booked an appointment, got diagnosed with PPD shortly after, and started medication. It helped. She apologized a lot shortly after, told me she wasn't herself during that time, and even cried saying she hated how she acted. She said it was like she was possessed by a devil. I forgave her because my focus was on our baby and keeping our family together, and the mental stability of both my wife and me. And honestly, things have been good since. She's a great mom, and we've been stable. But the truth is, I can't forget that night. I can't forget how it felt when she made my insecurity public, in front of people who matter to me. I've been honest with her that I still feel hurt. She always apologizes and a lot of times even cries, but it doesn't erase it. She's even suggested couples therapy, but I told her she's the one who needed counseling, not me. She's the one who mentally traumatized me. Last night, for the first time in our relationship, I told her I've been thinking about the possibility of separation or divorce. I told her it's not definite, but it's where my mind is sometimes. She was sort of shocked and panicked and her hands were literally shaking a bit and I had to sort of calm her down. I told her it's just these fleeting thoughts but they're not stopping. Aita for considering divorce. Stories number 40. Wibta if I contacted my sister-in-law's ex-husband's lawyer. My sister-in-law has been trying to pressure me and my husband into lying for her in court to get custody of her boys back. I recently established a boundary that I will no longer babysit for them, was never respected, never received compensation, always super passive-aggressive if I didn't go out of my way to accommodate them, and I talked to her lawyer previously as she lied about having a subpoena for me to attend her court. Her own lawyer told me he never gave her one for me as it was illegal. I'm wanting to talk to her ex's lawyer because I don't feel as though she's a good mom. She's pressuring everyone to follow a script to help her get her kids back, but she's gotten them taken numerous times. I'm wanting to talk to her ex's lawyer to basically give them my side and give them the truth, which she's hiding. Would that be reasonable? Or is that not my place? Edit, my brother's wife. Not my husband sis. My husband is on my side. Edit number 2, upon talking to my brother, he's worried his own kids will be taken away, and he wants me to protect his current wife. He keeps stating what my husband said, but keeps saying that the courts wouldn't find out if I lied and stuff like that and basically to drop the whole issue. He doesn't know that I'm thinking of getting a hold of the other lawyer. Thank you all for the responses by the way. Stories number 41. How do I politely tell my roommate her boyfriend can't basically live here? My roommate's boyfriend has been staying over almost every night for the past month. He's here when I wake up, he's here when I get home from work, he's eating our food, using our shower, like he's literally treating our apartment like his second home. I don't dislike the guy, but I didn't sign up to live with him and I'm not comfortable with the arrangement. My roommate pays half the rent but now there are essentially 2 people using the common areas and utilities. We're both on the lease and get along well otherwise, so I don't want to create unnecessary drama, but I also shouldn't have to hide in my room to avoid unwanted social interaction in my own home. I've even started spending more time out or just playing on rolling riches on my phone in my room to decompress and avoid the common areas entirely cause it's like I'm the guest now. The thing that really bothers me is that he started leaving his stuff around, like his toothbrush is in the bathroom, his clothes are in the living room and stuff like that, which are pissing me off. I tried dropping hints like, "Wow, is here a lot," but my roommate just laughed it off and said something about how they're practically inseparable. I don't think she realizes how awkward it is for me. What's the best way to bring this up?